Okay, so everybody hear me okay? Looks like there's a few people in here. I was going to wait just a minute. I didn't think I was going to make it this early, so I just decided I'd start it. Flat Earth report number 1. Yesterday, number 0 was just sort of a test. Stick to a schedule and not go over. So we shall see. What's up, Lee Harvey Hitler? So for those of you who were online earlier today, I kind of got involved with a little operation with thedailyplane.com, which was Operation hashtag RIP Stephen Hawking. So now it's just kind of, let's see what happened. Let's see how that proliferates. Let's see what kind of response it generates. Just so you know, I was sent an email by an irate troll who doesn't like flat earthers. And he believes that he can actually take down flat earth with this RIP Stephen Hawking thing. He thinks it's so politically incorrect and so damaging that if he runs to his local news with it, they're going to do a big expose. And I'm like, please, man. Like I said, this is all just more kindling for the fire. Throw gas on the fire. There's no bad publicity at this point. What's up, Steve Harthoon and Loco Tomo? Cindy Housen, what's going on at the Odd Reality website? I haven't been there in a minute. Are the mods being brutal? I would be actually, I wouldn't last 5 minutes if I didn't have a wrench, because I'm a really bad, my behavior in the chat, I'm a bad chatter. Yeah, well, Lee Harvey Hitler, he said, this is the guy who's actually emailing me about it. You know who he is. He's like, hey, just so you know. In fact, I'm going to read you the email directly. I might as well. So what happened today is, for those of you who don't know or weren't paying attention, we had this little force meme rip into the blogosphere, the Twitter sphere, YouTube, and Instagram, and Facebook that it might actually have getting people to look into or fall into a rabbit hole that they weren't exactly hoping to find. Into this, these long-term deceptions, to me, it's just like you can't unsee some of these things. I've noticed. Like that's why the flat Earth meme is so powerful, because the actual email. Thanks for this new meme. You guys give me so much content to make the movement look like a bunch of detached from reality insensitive pricks. Ace move. I think I'm going to get you on the news. And I'm like, cool. Let's see who else is here. Okay, so it looks like, there we go. I was waiting until everyone else had arrived. Twitwit, who's the mean sarcastic guy in chats? We tolerate sarcasm. There are three types of people we don't tolerate in the chat rooms. One being, well, thumpers. There's 3 categories of thumpers that we are on the lookout for. And you notice that there's a ratio here of wrenches to non-wrenches. Like, this is a police state. So the three who are basically booted on sight is going to be the globe thumpers, obviously, the Bible thumpers, and the Mein Kampf thumpers. Hitler fan club. Sorry, not allowed. Yes, rip Stephen Hawking. Thanks, Overthought, for posting that hashtag. Lots of people are getting upset about it. Way BMX, what has been your experience? Anybody in particular? People are pretty mad about it, but it's like, hey, who are you gonna be mad at? Like, even during the chat, somebody brought up what sounded like a valid point. They said, why are you tweeting this meme that Stephen Hawking is dead to these different people on there who are going to fall for it? And I'm like, who should they be mad at? Us or the ones perpetrating the hoax? It's like, why blame the messenger? Why blame the kid that's pointing out the emperor has no clothes? Get mad at the emperor and his the ones who procured his invisible robes. Like, it's not us. We didn't start this thing. We're just pointing it out. Ryan Smith feels like he might thump. All right, well, we're watching. IPS. Love Odd putting up the meme on the live chat. Did you guys see that? I was actually checking this out. It's hilarious. On ODD's live chat, and right now he's got people there. It's going strong. I think it's a great sign. It's a barometer of how this message is resonating. It doesn't sound like a lot to people when you compare it to stupid cat videos, but this is about deep level engagement. These people aren't just casually watching something to be amused. They're talking about it. They're debating it. But here's a link here, and all day long he's had like this tribute corner of his screen. It's let me pull it up. It says he's got the he's the wheelchair bound there himself, Stephen Hawking. What a fraud! It's hilarious. Here, oh, this is a good one. One guy got mad at the hobby store today. Oh, really? You were trying to buy globes to blow up and they didn't want you. Did you tell them you're going to blow up the globes? Like, they're like, we won't sell it to you. Dude, it's a sacred icon. Just wait. Wait until you start. Wait until you start seeing what happens. It's kind of funny. I mean, you've seen this before. It's just, it's a natural phenomenon. When people have been force fed something, sometimes they take delight in rebelling against it. It's funny. And it's funny having the power to offend people like that because they set themselves up for it by trying to act like a bunch of tyrants. You had this like debates over censorship, and you had people trying to censor music, and obviously it just makes people get worse. Okay, but overthought, you're saying, oh good, it says a couple bigger accounts retweeted you, couldn't tell if they were tricked or not. See, that's the thing. If you send this tweet to two different people and they tweet it to 5,000 each, we don't know where this thing's going to stop. And the further the distance is from you, the one who originated it, the more credibility it's going to have because it's coming from their own social networks. So we're going to see what happens with this thing. I'm very interested to see what comes of it. But yeah, absolutely getting a lot of people mad, but that's the whole point because they should be mad not at us. We're just the ones pointing out the deception. These comments are going so fast. Here we go. Deep inside the rabbit hole, the drone maker had a live hangout for the release of their new drone. I asked people in the ODD's chat to come over and ask Flat Earth questions. It was great. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's the thing about these live chats is that you're engaging with the crowd and you can get them to go visit these other websites. It's a good way to introduce people to other channels too, but that's interesting. Yeah, Pizzagate, I know what you're talking about. I went on some channel and I don't know what it is. I guess a lot of people think I'm a shill or whatever. Like, see, I just gave up on it. I said I'm not going to defend myself because it's not about me. It's about the information. But on that note, that Illuminati shill T-shirt for $13 at Teespring is available for the next like 30 minutes. Limited run. I think there's 8 other Illuminati shills who bought it. It says, "Trust me, I'm an Illuminati shill." But my reaction, I mean, my reason for getting that was just I made it as a reaction to people just who don't even know you, who just want to like cast aspersions on you, make people not trust you. I'm like, oh, you can't trust this person. Makes me question their judgment because I never make snap judgments like that. I don't go by first impressions. I wait until like 3 or 4 or 5. Zao Rain. Oh, it could be a religious thing too, because I'm not into Bibles, holy books, Dianetics. I'm not into any of it. TV, mainstream media, any way that the mind controllers corral your thoughts and tell you what to think, I kind of reject it at this point. Like the globe is the result of big government, big religion, faith in authority figures, and it has nothing to do with the creator. These holy books are not written by the creator. The creator doesn't write books. Let's move on. What do I think about Hitler? Actually, I want to do some more looking and examination of Hitler. I mean, there are some people that tell me some wild stuff. They're like, Hitler was. Have you heard this? There are people who are saying, and they're not making this up. They're saying that the character of Hitler was essentially a television construct. In Kampf, the whole thing's fake, and that Hitler was actually played on TV by none other than Walt Disney. Have you heard this stuff? But that's not really what I'm here to talk about. That's strange territory for Saturday night when I do the Flat Earth and Other Paradigm Shocks. That's when I can bring up these things that are just a little far out there. But actually today I was going through the Flat Earth Report, the news aggregator, which I yesterday, and here's a link if you haven't seen it yet. And right now we're in the process of getting other people, content creators, integrated into it. So if you got a blog, just send me an email and we'll hook up the RSS and it'll draw from it. So your post will show up here. Horizontal Horizon says thumbs up and subscribe to IPS if you're not already a Globe Exeter. Awesome. I saw someone, there was a really good hangout today. Mark Sargent and Patricia Steer had this hangout, and it was rather entertaining, to be quite honest. It was one of the better ones I've heard in a while. And on there had said, no sleep till Globe exit. And it's kind of funny to hear it. So, well, it's a Beastie Boys reference, which Mark correctly identified. No sleep till Brooklyn. And then Globe exit, of course. It's an anti-globalist sentiment. Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole says, if someone finds a live, non-flat Earth related hangout, go to ODD's hangout and ask everyone to come over for 5 minutes and barrage them with flat Earth info. Yeah, that's a good idea. And I'm definitely open. So if you see anything, any live streams, you want to go drop some truth bombs, it's a great idea. TheDailyPlane.com says, I'm going to post up the Flat Earth report tonight. Excellent. Go. Globers are jealous. Globers are, a lot of them are broken, man. They're losing this. They really don't have a big defense. That's why I'm saying it's at this point where we got to go ahead and just talk to them, especially the trolls who just want to be the peanut gallery. It's like, no, get up on the stage and talk. There's no reason for this. And there's a dynamic involved too, I think, that needs to change. I was thinking about this, how a lot of these sniper type trolls, a lot of them are just acting that way because they don't feel like they get a fair shot. So I'm trying to make it a point to hear people out that I disagree with, even if they're Bible thumpers or Hitler fanboys. In fact, I would like to talk to one of these Hitler fanboys. If you are one, let's talk about Hitler. Let's talk about this. And usually this chat room's crawling with them, but I haven't seen any in a minute here. Lee Harvey Hitler says, go watch the videos on my channel about the author of the New Testament. Go ahead and post a link. So one other thing here, if you're promoting a video and you post a link, I'm putting it onto a notepad, and then later I'm putting these into playlists and I'm putting them on the flatearthreport.com under the video page. So let's see what came up there today. So the first thing I have on here is actually a post from Steemit, which I don't know if you've seen this or not. If you've read the on the subject, I'm going to post a link. Flat Earth Debate Tactics 1 of 10. And really just the heading you need to read. Deny them the moral or intellectual high ground. And we all know this by now, that a lot of these globies come in thinking that they're smarter than you. They know more, and that you're somehow inferior or you're morally bankrupt because you're believing in something that's false. Like, they come into it with this assumption. And it's like, where do you get off with that assumption? We all went through the same indoctrination, through the same brainwashing. We watched the same movies, the same media networks. Like, we're all in the same arena here. And some of us have just unplugged from their networks, from their propaganda matrix. And there's this instinct, and it's programmed. It's the instinct of you see, it's the mob mentality where the nonconformist is a threat to cohesion. And they play upon your fear of being outgrouped, your fear of being cast out of the tribe, being ostracized. And so they try to just reinforce conformity. They turn us into our own prison wardens. And so people who aren't thinking like everyone else is thinking are somehow seen as being dangerous. And I'm seeing this narrative showing up in a whole lot of these different psyops, where after the fact they analyze it and they're like, oh, it's because of dangerous thoughts. It's because of emotions that couldn't be mitigated with like a psychiatrist, like with Adam Lanza. They're trying to say that they could have prevented it. Like, we could have predicted he was going to do this and sent a therapist to his house and maybe out and shooting all these kids. Now, we all know this was fake, that nobody was shot, but they're using this psyop to push the narrative that, well, maybe we ought to let Big Brother into our heads a little bit more. Make sure we're not thinking any unhappy thoughts. And Neil deGrasse Tyson backed this up, saying, if you don't believe in science as he teaches it, you're a threat. Bill Nye, Oh, you don't believe in global warming? Well, that's going to cause the sky to fall down, and you're going to endanger everybody else with your dangerous thoughts. It's like having sinful thoughts. That's all thought policing. Crazy white boy, you were watching that channel? Yeah, I came by to say nice things. I mean, I like that channel, or I did, but I unsubbed and I blocked. I don't have time for YouTube drama. I really don't. Horizontal Horizon, you are awesome. I appreciate that. Seriously, it means a lot because you know what I'm seeing coming out of this whole thing is so overwhelmingly positive that I don't really bother with the negativity. The people that are in these chat rooms are all not only outliers, but they're just free thinkers who aren't afraid to diverge from groupthink and to state opinions that would get you roasted in most contexts. But honestly, you're standing your ground. I am. So I have a base level of respect for anybody who can at least question the globe, even those who aren't saying I'm flat earthers, because that's a dogmatic statement. But if you're just willing to say, I'm agnostic about it, like I'm not going to make claims to know things that I can't possibly know. What's up, Toto Cult? Shout out to Horizontal Horizon. In fact, do you have a wrench? Thank you, Aaron Hahn. We're getting closer. We're getting closer to the time where people are going to start sending in the artwork for the art show, and so this is all going to really help make this thing happen. I've just been going over the Google Forms and putting everybody into folders according to their medium, and it looks like we're going to have 100 contributors. Some of it digital art, some of it one or two paintings. We got some sculptures, but it's all falling together pretty quickly. And I'm glad that we discussed this. We had a conversation about it, and we pushed it back to July. We pushed it back to July to make sure that people sending artwork from Australia would have time to get it here. And there's a couple of people I have my mind on who I'm going to try to get to show up because we want to do a panel discussion. Like, could you imagine 3 or 4 or 5 of these YouTube content creators, in a room together talking about the stuff in a discussion that's pretty much open to the public? Like, I think it would be very constructive. Cindy Howison, I'm watching you for Tonight IPS. Thank you. I think. Are you spying or are you entertained? So the subject of this particular discussion, the Flat Earth Report #1, over the news, and I'm using this news aggregator to stay up to date on the latest developments in the Earth. Never a boring day on Flat Earth, if you haven't noticed. And for those who say Flat Earth is a psyop, I have this, it's kind of an analogy I've been using where I kind of look at all these other deceptions and these little conspiracies and things, little glitches in the matrix. Like each one is a puzzle piece. So you start researching, and before you know it, you have all these puzzle pieces in your hands, and there's nothing you can really do with them. It's just a lot of stuff. So then you come across flat Earth, and with flat Earth, it's like you suddenly have a surface to put these puzzle pieces down on and assemble it. So it's this jigsaw puzzle. So you put the pieces down, and it allows you to build the picture. And it's not a pretty picture from what we revealed so far, but it's cohesive now. And so what I'm saying is that flat Earth, far from being a psyop or a distraction, is the missing link that gives everything else context. That's the way that I've kind of been having to really define this thing, because it's like, it's not a distraction. It opens up so many other things. Like, in order to even be capable of understanding it, you have to be skeptical about all the experts, not just the fake science, but the fake journalists, and then the way that the educational system has been corrupted, because none of us, not a single one of us, made it through, K through 12 without being indoctrinated with this Jesuit doctrine of heliocentrism, which again, it's an astrotheological cult dressed up like science. It has nothing to do with the reality that we're actually in. Flattrotter SS, you're revisiting the Rip Hawking. Yeah, Rip Stephen Hawking hashtag. We were trying to see if we could push it up into trending. It might still happen. I was just taking a look at some of these tweets. I don't know if any of you have looked, but if you go to Twitter and you type in Rip Stephen Hawking in the hashtag, and I'll put a link here, it's alive. Bouncing around the Twitter sphere. And these memes are hilarious. And the funny thing is, I was looking through this and I'm like, wait a minute. It seems like he's been declared dead almost every year for the last 10 years. But even now, just in the last few minutes, there are tweets coming up and people retweeting this stuff. In fact, it's my favorite image of the day. There's that really sad image of the dark side of the moon, and somebody superimposed it over a clown face. You'll get a kick out of it. I just dropped it off there. Oh, Cindy, you got kicked off? Well, we all have our rules, you know. I mean, freedom of speech protects you from the government, but doesn't protect you from those of us who run our chat rooms. And I run this thing like a police state. I have a dedicated squad of my troll squad. They've all got their wrenches, and they have orders. You know, the order is quality control. We get rid of Bible thumpers, globe thumpers, and Mein Kampf thumpers. Joseph Lynch says, "Flat Earth motherfuckers, IPS speaks caps lock." Exactly, I do. Caps lock is how I whisper. All right, so let's see here. Now, again, I'm getting my news today from the Flat Earth Report, and I'm finding more stuff. This is fascinating. Flat Earth activism. I haven't even seen this yet. This is from a website, flatearth.tk. Here, and this was from today. It says Flat Earth activism. I don't even recognize. The link here in the description. This guy's jogging, telling people the Earth is flat. The link I just posted. This is actually pretty good. Unbelievable. Okay, so this guy is jogging down the street. There's a lot of other people running the opposite way, and he's jogging by people telling him, "Way to go, Earth's flat, guys, way to go." Now that's pretty funny. And I like it that I don't recognize him, because the way I see this thing happening is it's like a tidal wave, right? Where the number of people who wake up to this thing at the same time, when it hits a critical mass, it's just going to drown out everything else. It's going to be absurd. It's going to be fascinating to watch. Mr. Scientific says, "How low does your IQ have to?" Your syntax is off. I'm sorry. I couldn't even understand what you're saying. No, this is what they don't get. This guy called himself Mr. Scientific. Obviously, he's not, Mr. Grammar. Couldn't even understand what he was writing. But low IQ, there are populations in the world where, they don't have the highest literacy rates. They don't have the schools, and they all know it's a ball. You get the ball from indoctrination. You're born in a flat world, and then they twist your mind up. And pretty much nobody escapes. The ball Earth, the heliocentrism, that's the one world order religion. It's like, where does this guy get off thinking that it's a low IQ thing? People are the flat earthers today. And by smartest, I don't mean people who've nobody's actually here. None of us here are going to say unequivocally it's flat. We just know it's not a ball. And we're smart enough to perceive that nuance and not commit to something that we can't possibly know. All we're doing is dispensing with things where distancing ourselves from claims that we can't make or can't actually believe. Like, you can't actually say, "I know for a fact that Pluto's face is on Mars," the dog Pluto. You know that they have the Disney face. Or you can't say you've seen the hexagram thing on the top of Saturn. Like, you've seen the CGI. You've seen images, but you're basically making an argument from authority or from divinely revealed texts. I should get OBS so I can have a live stream. Okay. Absolutely, I will. Thanks for the recommendation. What does that stand for anyway? Okay, Becky G, you're just tuning in. Is Steven still dead? Yeah, this is going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to find out what happens, because I was just posting a link to the Twitter stream where this thing's going down, and it's also on Facebook and on Instagram. And a lot of people are getting retweets, and then strangers are retweeting these retweets. And so just a question of, is it going to hit the right person? And all we need is someone to question it. And then we have one of our resident trolls, the troll who shall not be named, who sent me some rather ominous messages that He's going to bring down flat Earth. And he's going to do so, he says, by hashtag rip Stephen Hawking to show us off to be a bunch of bullies or something like that. Absurd. But I'm like, he's saying he's going to get us on the news. I'm like, you want to get this on the news? Go for it, buddy. There's no such thing as bad publicity. And we're not the ones who did anything wrong. We're not the ones perpetrating a hoax that lasts decades. I mean, they're using this guy as a spokesmouth for policies which are very anti-human. I mean, why does this guy have to defend fascists? I don't know. Some people just default. They just want to cozy up to power. But no, the kinds of ideas being espoused by the one worlders are not good ideas. They're demonstrably bad. The same ideas that lead to mountains of skulls. These people are ridiculous. But I said, yeah, get it on the news. I don't care. What are they going to do? Get offended? Figure this out. That people like watching the media get outraged. It's not even news. The news is nothing more than Hollywood. It's psyops, and then it's this perpetual outrage machine where they just bring out victim after victim. Somebody's feelings is hurt. Somebody is aggrieved. It's ridiculous, and nobody falls for it anymore. Okay, so it's an XSplit broadcaster. It's free, and you can do a bunch of cool things. Okay, well, Overthought, I appreciate your insight, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook that up so that tomorrow, because this is going to be a nightly thing, just 3 hours. My earlier live stream was really not planned. But what I am going to do is have that ready by tomorrow so I can follow along, because that's kind of what I was aiming to do. And I also want to take calls during hour 3. Pizzagate says, I Spy, please unblock me from your channel. Antonio, for his feelings hurt. Don't understand you. Send me an email with a link to your account, and I will unblock you. Chase Harold says, IPS, I've been searching, talking to other teenagers, and I question what they think they know. Half of them say they get a headache from my question. The other half do not know why they believe heliocentrism. That's interesting. The problem with it is that, you get bad grades if you don't believe the official dogmas. I mean, it's kind of messed up, but you have to learn it. It's like you have to just go with the flow and pass their tests. I Spy NASA Lies says, been saying on my stream all night, people keep saying, did he die? And you say nothing else. Exactly. We're not trying to convince anybody, because I'm pretty sure he died about 33 years ago, and that we just see this animatronic. I've described him as not unlike something you might see at your local Chuck E. Cheese, but the person's not there. The family sold him. They sold the rights. He's basically like a character. Stephen Gene BA says, IPS, you need to join You've Been Exposed channel. Yeah, actually, I did want to talk to him. I like some of these channels. I need to go talk to, because they're all post-globe. I'm so over the globe. And we need to start thinking a step ahead. Because remember, the ones who orchestrated this, the architects of this deception, they're playing steps ahead of us. And we need to start thinking steps ahead. Because right now, I think we're witnessing a controlled demolition and the enactment of contingency plans. And the more I look into it, the more controlled this thing is. And I'm not talking about being paranoid. I'm not a paranoid person, but the rabbit hole is deeper than I ever imagined. And we need to start kind of thinking about, or discussing anyway, ideas for what comes next for the post-globe. Because we know what they're doing right now. Did you see that video the other day of Dr. Evil, Crazy Eye Bezos? He was in a room full of toddlers with his shrine to Apollo, telling them about building a moon base. I mean, they're just straight up brainwashing the kids. Yeah, Dead Reckoner, ODD TV, has the Stephen Hawking logo. He came by and he mentioned it. It's hilarious. Because he's been bringing that up for a long time. He's been on that story for a while. But they look for Globers to debate with. See, I haven't been debating Globers, but I kind of want to now. There is something that I've noticed, because I have this thing, I'm trying to triage how awake somebody is. And I just realized that there are certain steps, like believing in Bigfoot is still surface level stuff. But it's not until you get to false flags that you really start questioning things. And most people leave it there. But one step further is hoaxes and crisis actors and lifetime actors. And once you've gone down there, you can barely see the surface, and you're just a step away from really the dark stuff. The real creepy stuff, not just flat Earth, but like the human trafficking and all that comes with it. And we're getting, to the point where the general public is probably two steps down, where people will talk about false flags on the news now, where before things existed, pushing the line forward. And so with the Globies, though, I like to ask them, do you believe everything that Anderson Pooper Scooper tells you? Do you believe everything that Lion Brian Williams tells you? Do you consider them to be, do you consider CNN to be a valid source of information, and NASA and ISS? And when you find out that the people who don't understand how the globe can be a deception get all of their information from state propaganda, it makes perfect sense. I'm like, all right, well, you're in a cult. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. What you can do, though, is you can kind of hone in and say, well, would you concede that Sandy Hook was totally fake? And it's just about getting them to connect the dots, which is hard to do. I couldn't connect the dots. I understood, yeah, there's all these similarities, all these different psyops, but I didn't quite see the big picture, like I said, until Flat Earth. Yeah, I think Joe Rogan, I think these people are very narcissistic and sensitive, and they're aware of the criticisms against them, but they won't name you by name. But yeah, I think they're scared of having a real debate. I mean, look, Joe Rogan brought on Steve-O to do damage control at the last minute. I mean, seriously, Steve-O, that's like the very worst, bottom of the barrel. There's nothing there, no substance. What is this? He says, I went up on a plane really high and I saw the curve. Slam dunk. No, I don't think so. Owned your property. You're going to say whatever they pay you to say because you're an actor. These actors, by the way, they have you thinking that, like, let's say, for example, Matt Damon, they have you thinking that these actors act on the movie, and then when they're not in the movie theater, they're being like real. No, that's total crap. It's all Hollywood. It's all fake. Even their marriages, these Hollywood marriages, those are all fake too. Not all of them, but many of them are. These people are just totally fraudulent. They're deceiving you. And so that's why you have these Hollywood actors who, in the movies, kill people with guns like there's no tomorrow. They just kill, kill, kill. But then off screen, they're like, we need to do something about guns. They're just basically a horse. But there's no disconnect between the media and the mainstream propaganda. And I have this the way I kind of look at it is they seed the entertainment, the culture with ideas that they'll then use later in the media, like in a psyop or in some other way. So they set you up in advance with a narrative structure. So then when they present it to you in the news, you react a certain way. So they've integrated the media with entertainment, the news with the movies. Let's see who else is here. Becky G. Steve-O's video looked like a GoPro lens. Yeah, obviously it was. To me, I don't even think, I mean, it looked like stock footage. I don't even believe he went on it. I don't trust any of these things. And it's like one video, I'm seriously like so over that. It's like people who say, I was on a plane and I saw the curve. You saw it from 30,000 feet, then how come I can't see it from 120,000 feet? Dr. Medicinal says, CNN headquarters is on the 33rd parallel, so is Baghdad, Iraq, Roswell, New Mexico. All states on the 33rd parallel have a death penalty. France dialing code is 33, Masonic stage hoaxes. Very interesting. Okay. But no, anyway, Steve-O, that was just ridiculous. Rob Dizzle says, just wanting you to know, I wasn't notified you went live. Interesting. Well, we just started here. This is number one, but tomorrow I'm actually going to be, I'll have a different format on the screen, so I'm going to be doing a screen share thing. All the moon landings are faked. There's a whole lot of fraud going on, like Ellen Bean. He's the artist, went to Apollo 12, I guess. He went to the moon, and he came back with a bunch of moon dust, and he puts it in his paint. And so he sells his moon dust paintings for $500,000. It's all fraud. It's all what I would call stolen valor. Horizontal Horizon says, go to your Google Plus account and change your name. Takes 10 seconds. What should we change it to? Becky G says, please talk about mnemonic circles, mind control in TV, movies, and commercials. Good topic, and that is something we have to discuss. Like right now, I'm looking at how many movies have this theme of enclosed systems or simulated environments. Like, take for example that movie, the Matt Damon one where he went to Mars. Real dumb movie. It be for them to build a simulated Mars that would be convincing to somebody, or at least convincing to audiences on TV. Like, I think they're going to pull this off if ISS doesn't get exposed for using augmented virtual reality, um, video compositing, green screen, harnesses, hanging upside down. I mean, acrobatics. Some of these people are hanging upside down. A good video on it where he showed this Penn and Teller show where they had their stage and they were doing stage magic and things would fly up into the air, but you couldn't tell until they turned the camera 180 degrees that, yeah, these guys are upside down, hanging by their ankles from a bar. And when you look at these astronauts and you look closely at their faces when they stand there with their arms crossed, you can actually see the blood rushing to their head. You can see the veins. You can see the swelling around their necks. They look like they look swollen. And it's because those guys are upside down. Flattrotter SS says, Stephen Hawking is an embalmed animatronic doomsayer muppet for the New World Order. He's fake as F. Exactly. You nailed it. For decades. Bullet 1536, Matt Damon didn't go to Mars. Sorry to tell you. But you saw it on a screen. And see, that's the thing. Your basis for evidence for saying that you believe in the Apollo moon landing, if you believe in it, is the same as I believe that Matt Damon went on Mars. You saw it on a screen presented to you by the government entertainment media complex. They're not separate. Just because you saw it on CNN doesn't mean it's any different. Because listen, if they can fake something on the news, hold on, I got a comment here. IPS, you're an effing shill. Thank you. I am. I'm a shill for the truth. I really am. I am shilling for reality and for dispelling the deception. So what I was saying, though, is that if they can fake it on the movies and make it look convincing in Hollywood, they can do it on CNN. Like, there's no reason to think these things are different, that they're somehow separate, because they're not. Rob Dizzle says, wait, hold on a second. You can buy a painting created with moon dust. Didn't NASA auction off some moon? Yeah, exactly. This is something. This lady had a piece of moon dust because her husband supposedly went to the moon or something, and it was the size of a grain of rice. She asked NASA, can I sell it? Because she had medical problems with her grandson she was trying to pay for, and her husband had died, and she was behind on her mortgage. So she said, can I sell this moon dust, this moon rock? And it's the size of a grain of rice. Well, instead of responding, no, it's illegal, NASA sent the SWAT team over, caught up with her at a Denny's, cornered her, asked her a bunch of questions. She had to defecate in her pants. They wouldn't let her leave. Anyway, it was a big fiasco. Happened a few years ago. She finally got a huge settlement out of it. So she got all of that just for trying to talk about selling a piece of moon rock. And yet you got this other guy, Alan Bean. Go to alanbean.com. He's selling paintings with moon dust for $500,000. And I guess they just don't want you to be able to analyze it. Because, yeah, truth frequency, the moon rock that Neil Armstrong gave to Holland was petrified wood. That's what they say anyway. I think it was a polished elephant turd, but it's the same thing. Totally fake. We all know it wasn't a moon rock. And someone brought that up to Joe Rogan. They said, hey, man, you know those weren't real moon rocks that, how can you still believe that the moon landing happened? Do you remember his response? He's like, well, I'm not a scientist, so I believe it. Which is dumb. It's like saying, well, I'm not an imam, so I'm just going to go ahead and believe whatever they say. It's just this appeal to authority. It's so slavish. And that's what they want. They want you to be like that. They want you to think, well, these are complicated thoughts and ideas. Let me just defer to the experts and let them tell me what to think. What's up, ADR? How are you today? This was kind of well, yesterday was kind of a test run for this thing. This would be the inaugural episode of the Flat Earth Report. And it's just based on the news of the day, mostly topical. So if you go to the flatearthreport.com, you'll see what I'm talking about. Right now, I'm still in the process of integrating a lot of the content creators into it, but it's up and running. And there is going to be a print-on-demand version, probably released every Saturday night. I'm just trying to work out how I can keep the cost down having to deal with shipping and all that. But my objective would be to keep it under $3, but we'll see. Question, says Joseph Evans, does the solar eclipse from Oregon to South Carolina next month, will that prove a globe model? That's going to be interesting to see. A lot of people are expecting it to be a slam dunk, but I'm not really sure that's going to be the case. It's going to be highly observed, and that's what's important. Because if something doesn't jive, we're going to see it. Terry Elrod, he sent me an email about a couple of domain names. Excellent. I will be checking those out. Someone did a Hawking died video 8 years ago. Yeah, that was the thing. I was going through these tweets here about the dead Stephen Hawking, and people have been saying this for a long time, and somehow this is legal. Like, I don't think it's a person. I think this is a character kind of wheel out. I don't think he's even I made a joke. It's embalmed animatronic. No, I think it's just like an actor wearing a prosthetic over his face, over the bottom half of his face. Donald Horizon, he's been dead for 20 years. And the only reason why it raises any red flags to me is I looked at some of the older footage. Like, if you want to see how bad NASA is and with their failed they are, look at the older NASA tapes. I mean, they seriously have a lot of goof ups that we just need to point out. If you're a Globie and you believe in the globe, you've got to own all that stuff. All these glitches, all these goof ups by the ISS, by NASA, by the space shuttle crew, you own all of it. You can't distance yourself from it. You've accepted that as an article of faith. It's all or none. Rob Dizzle says, I was talking about a recent lawsuit where they accidentally auctioned off moon rocks to a lady for around $900 and kept them when she went to get them tested. She supposedly got $4 million and the rocks back in the settlement. What a racket. That's such a scam. Dead Reckoner says there are some articles about a woman sending Hawking death threats. That's weird. Well, look at the old interviews with Stephen Hawking and Larry King, and that's where you can see it's totally fake. And it's like he's mind typing 200 words a minute. It's just not possible. I'm sorry. And it's just one of these things where the further back you look at NASA, the cheesier it gets. The further back you look at the Steve Hawking hoax, the worse it gets. Like, it's really corny. And I remember as a little kid seeing that thing on TV and thinking I was looking at something magnificent, like some great genius communicating through this contraption. I didn't question it when I was a kid, but now I'm looking at it and think that's cheesy stuff. That's just ridiculous. Who buys into this? Antonita says, I don't need technical elaborated info. Flat Earth syncs naturally in with me. Synchronicity. Yeah, I think this is the thing. We don't have to be, we're not teaching people. We're not trying to say, learn about flat Earth. It's more like just pay attention to what actually is and ignore all the lies, because they have to impose the deception on you. The default is your reality corresponding to what your senses tell you. And our senses let us know that this is a flat stationary plane. They just lie to us to tell us otherwise because it's part of their gaslighting. They want you to think that the moon goes west to east when you observe it going east to west. They do a 180-degree inversion of reality. And they insist that you learn this crap. And then when you're a little kid, they teach you lies like dinosaurs so they can tell you, oh, by the way, at any minute, a big rock could fall down from the sky and kill us all. Like dino believers. That's another thing. When we're talking about this rabbit hole concept and triaging people, if somebody believes in dinosaurs, then you're not going to really get anywhere with them because they haven't questioned anything. Because you really have to look into it, because it's not like someone said dinosaurs are fake and I was just like, okay, cool. No, I looked into it for a long time. I looked at different possible explanations, but then the more I looked into the actual methodology and just how corrupt the whole field is, I realized, okay, this is a big scam. I mean, when Earth goes flat, we're not going to destroy the natural history museums of the dinosaurs. We're just going to change it from scientific exhibit to art gallery. And these dinosaurs are just going to be displayed as works of art because that's all they are. Dead Reckoner says there's a website called Futurism which talks about Hawking going to space. Now that's interesting. I was thinking that Hawking is part of some psyop or something where they're going to say they've uploaded his intelligence to a computer or something. Like, yeah, you can now download Stephen Hawking. It's actually him. Download him in an iTunes app, and he'll still interact with you. He never died. He just integrated his mind into computer. Come on. and people will believe it. I've actually been thinking about this. I was like, man, Elon Musk could probably get a bunch of his, billionaire friends to line up and say, hey, yeah, you're getting kind of old. Why don't you just upload your brain into this nice young looking android? You'll be your old self, but you'll have a new body. Toss your old body away. We'll just throw it in the landfill here, and people will line up and they'll do it. Like he'll sell people euthanasia under some kind of illusion that their consciousness is being upgraded into a robot, and nobody's going to know the difference anyway. If you read any of this transhumanism stuff, that's where they go. It's kind of dark, and it's all fraudulent. They're not going to do any of it. Joseph Lynch says, "I'm not even high yet." No Story Now says dino bones and masterpieces 2 for 1 from China this week. Yeah, dinosaurs are all made in China, by the way. Like I remember, I mean, what a disappointment! It's like when you find out wrestling is fake. When I found out at the museum, I wasn't looking at actual skeletons that had been unearthed. I was just looking at like a replica. It was disappointing, but I got over it. Now I look at dinosaurs and they're just like dragons and ogres and giants and everything else. They're just mythical creatures. It's just a matter of determining why they did it. And I think they did it for 2 reasons. Horizontal Horizon says, look up Aboriginal creation myths if you're interested in mud fossils. Will do. But they did it for 2 reasons, though. One of it, they had to extend the timeline back to give them room for their evolution, which is a lie. So they need to set the time back. And then 2, it's all about the big rock dropping from the sky. They need you to believe in an asteroid because no, this summer it's on, I guess, CBS or whatever. It's going to be a 13-episode season called Salvation about an asteroid coming down to Earth. I don't know how it's going to end. I have a feeling that the ISS is going to shoot it with rockets or something. They'll send Bruce Willis up there. I don't know what they're going to do, but to me, that's just teaching people. Like I said, it's getting in their heads with the entertainment so they get the idea that this is even possible. So that later, if the powers that be decide to make one happen in real life, people will believe it. Such fakery. DailyPlane.com says, I triggered a globehead who had just come back from Monday Night Raw. What'd you do? Don't tell him wrestling's fake. You could tell him the world's flat, but just don't tell him wrestling's fake. Yeah, DMT says National Geographic is scientism propaganda. Yeah, isn't it? I'm looking back at a lot of this stuff, especially the stuff you watched as a kid, and it's all agenda driven. Like when we call fake news, it's news that is agenda driven, that has no objectivity, that is specifically being done to advance a political agenda. And I've been pushing this new meme that needs to get out there, fake science. There's no reason to think that scientists are any more objective than Anderson Pooper Scooper, Lion Brian Williams. Like they all are the same. They're agenda driven. They have political agendas with the science. So we have fake news, we have fake science. Ryan Smith says, my neighbor's cousin said wrestling is real. That type of evidence from people all the time. It's like the other day I had 4 people telling me that they had friends whose uncles died at 9/11. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't care anymore. It's just that the number of people who have reported to me that they know victims outnumber the actual number of victims, even if every single one was real. Rob Dizzle says, I love how Hawking wasn't even on the celebrity ALS list until Jaron made a video about it last year. Yeah, that's something. And that's not the first time. There have been a number of instances where would bring up an issue and NASA would react. And they reacted to that. Same thing with the thing in the sun. But yeah, they're watching and they're trying to fill in the gaps that we expose before the public sees them. But I'm wondering, how are they going to walk this one back? They've already made this character into something of an anomaly, and people are asking questions. And then also, at some point, who's going to even care? Like, I think that they should have killed that character off maybe in, I don't know, 2005 or something. The Warlock, can you recommend any books by Santos Bonacci? I have to check out his books. I actually haven't read his books. I think I've watched them all. But I'm rewatching a number of them. I have them on my to watch list. Oh, Bowman, 1987. You used to work at an IMAX theater. See, that's like working at a planetarium. How bad would you feel? Planetarium, and you were just brainwashing kids. And I'm wondering what happens when people start figuring this out, and then these field trips to the planetarium aren't taken as seriously when people throw popcorn at the screen because that's all fakery. Your truth, I believe you're right about that. Uh, yeah, Bullet 1531 says everybody in the world died on 9/11. That's true. I died at Sandy Hook. You all saw that, what's his name? Noah Posner from Sandy Hook. This is crazy. I forgot about this and I was reminded about it on a show today. They talked about it on another program about how you have this psyop that's run a school shooting thing and it's just a movie, right? Well, another similar shooting happened like in India or something or in Pakistan. And Noah Posner, who died at Sandy Hook, his image and picture was also over there. So they recycle even the cast of characters. They're not real. And they're so blatant about it. They're just filming propaganda movies in real time and presenting them to the news as real. The news runs with it and people believe it. The Light of Egypt. Okay, I'll check out that book. Thank you. Yeah, I died at the Boston bombing. I did die there too. I died at the Bataclan. That one was tough. Nice, the truck ran over me. I was one of the rubber dolls you saw with the fake blood. Rob Dizzle asked the political hillbilly about Sandy Hook. Yeah, Sandy Hook is to me one of the easiest ones to expose, and that's the one where here's what did it for me. Rob Parker, Robbie Parker's Duper's Delight caught on camera is what woke me up to the bigger level of the deception because I thought kids had died. I knew it was a psyop. I thought the government was doing it because they're evil. I didn't see how deep the deception went until Robbie Parker cracked a smile and laughed about his dead kid. Yeah, Micah Sarver says it's amazing how many people didn't know that there are companies that do fake terrorism drills. Yeah, and you can just Google it and you find out. Like there was a terrorism drill. It was like Operation Boston Shield or something, or Urban Shield that corresponded to the Boston bombing. And if you look at their videos describing what they can do, they show you how realistic they can get with amputations and faking different types of explosions. It's in your face. But they got these loudmouths in the media who specialize in controlling the narrative, and they get on the internet and they control the narrative. They have all the human shields, the supposed victims, that you can't question the official narrative because you don't want to offend one of these victims. So they get in lockdown, and then by the time the truth gets out, people are kind of like over it and they don't care. Becky G says Sandy Hook pisses me off so much. Yeah, I'm just thankful for Sandy Hook because it's a textbook. It's a perfect example of how to recognize the different elements of a psyop. There was that one Sandy Hook parent that I think is just the worst, the one who did the anti-gun movies. His costume as an FBI agent, because if you didn't know, one of the Sandy Hook parents also was seen on the news as one of the SWAT team members that ran to the school. But he wasn't wearing SWAT team garb. He was wearing like your standard basic training battle dress uniform you get from your local military surplus. I mean, the stuff he was wearing is outdated, outmoded, and he was wearing it wrong. It was ridiculous. It was like he had a canteen, then he had the shovel like right in front of his crotch, and his gun was upside down. His helmet didn't fit. He didn't even have any cover on his Kevlar. I was like, this is the corniest thing I've ever seen. Like low budget. Becky G, Robbie totally woke you up. Yeah, that Robbie Hook smirk. That's the one that really tore it down, I think. And it's almost pointless to talk about flat Earth with people who think you can still trust the media. Rob Dizzle says Noah Posner, Sandy Hook, was in Afghani school shooting 2 years later with the same photograph. Yep, that's the one. I mean, how crazy is that? They just recycle. They just move the movie overseas. And you know what? Here's something to keep in mind too. It's not like they just started doing this 5 years ago in 2012 or whatever. They didn't just start. We only just started catching on to it because of this, because of the internet and because of independent investigators, people questioning the media narratives. But this has been going on for a long time. And this is why they hate what they call fake news. They don't like the fact that we can take their media narratives and examine them and see how they're actually made up. This is why I call it a reformation. It's the same thing. We're not supposed to be able to see behind the screen, behind the curtain here. Oh, here's an interesting one. DMT says, you saw a video of Trump when he was first in the White House and one of the Secret Service guys looked like Robbie Parker. Well, these guys are all government employees, so it shouldn't be surprising. And something else is, when you're looking at people who have dual roles, they have a number of ways to significantly alter their appearance. And one of the ways is by adding or removing on the ridge of the nose. I mean, a little bit of a change right there between the eyes, a little more mass or a little less mass, looks like two different people. It's amazing. And I've seen that before. There was this bank robber I read about who would just use a little piece of like a Band-Aid or something over the top of his nose because for some reason it distorts the features. Like dailyplane.com, do I think Jesus' death and rise from the grave was the first hoax? That one, interesting. I would say that the creation of the religion of Christianity was in fact based upon a psyop, a myth, something that didn't happen. Yeah, so I would call it a psyop, a foundational myth. Like I call 9/11 a foundational myth. Uh, I would say Littleton, Colorado, a foundational myth. So basically, they have a psyop that establishes a new type of bad guy, a new enemy, a new event that redefines everything. And if you read about the description of the project for the new American century and what these globalists were talking about at the time, call them neocons or whatever, they were talking about we need a catalyzing event like Pearl Harbor. And so 9/11 was such a catalyzing event, and it accomplished so many things. It advanced the growth of state power. It advanced the national security apparatus, the mind control networks, and it showed us how much they have this thing on lockdown, how all of the networks work together at a certain level. All of them, they're all against us. It's a psychological warfare operation being waged by the elite against you and me, and against your kids, against your progeny, against the future generations. Lee Harvey Hitler, yes, this is better than the printing press. This is better than movable type press. I think it gives us a much better fighting chance here. Dailyplane.com says, with the Bible, they created a way to get people to worship their sun gods, just like they did with the globe. It's a parallel system. Heliocentrism is not a description of the universe arrived at by scientific observation. No, quite the opposite. Heliocentrism is a deception to convince us of outer space, which doesn't exist, and it is nothing more than the polytheistic astrotheological cult, just given a scientific veneer. You could call it Roman polytheism, but its origins go back so much further. Let's see what else is going on here. Micah Sarver says, there's no way I would ever purposefully bring kids to Earth. Well, that video with Jeff Bezos was really creepy. Because he knows that those rockets aren't going into space. Like New Shepard, he knows that New Shepard thing is an obelisk. And if you look at that one, it doesn't even look like they're trying to disguise what it represents. Look at the New Shepard rocket. It's disgusting. I'm like, just paint it flesh colored, man. Why even hide it? But New Shepard is a reference to the sun god, Horus. And yeah, heliocentrism is bullshit. Exactly. Deep inside the rabbit hole. Coin this one. Heliocentrism is bullshit. But the thing is, Bezos is talking to children and he's lying to them. He knows that these rockets are just rocket propelled blimps. He knows this. He knows nothing's in space, nothing's in orbit. But here he is lying to these kids because they're trying to build a deception that they will be born into, that they will not escape. That's what they're building. They're building an alternative universe, a parallel universe, an alternative, a universe filtered through CGI and through computer models where people are property and controlled from cradle to grave. I think it's totally Brave New World, but much worse. More Philip K. Dick, very dark. And there's really nothing standing, and these people are like cult leaders. I'm serious. They see themselves as shepherds, and we're sheep. Becky G says, the problem is people believe whatever they're told. Well, I've had a number of conversations about this. I thought was interesting. It turns out that my great-grandmother, who was, I don't know how old she was at the time, But she called bullshit on the moon landing the day it happened. She said it's fake. She said it's just a movie screen. She said it's a deception. They can't do it. And I thought that is awesome. Because if you actually did a poll, I wouldn't be surprised if the number of people who believed it was far less and that a lot of people were just apathetic, didn't care. They hype up these events. They rewrite history and they will marginalize and ignore opinions that don't reflect the narrative they're pushing. So there's no reason to think that we're as lost as we think. I know I've mentioned this before that I had a cinematographer record the Flat Earth Day protest, and afterwards, because he was surprised that I was interrupting the thing, he thought I was a speaker. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, the Earth is flat. And he's like, you know what? The Earth may be flat, but I don't really care. It's not relevant to my interests whether it's flat or round. And I thought that was fascinating. Bowman, 1987, says Philip K. Dick believed that reality is computer generated. Exactly. You got it. If you haven't read Philip K. Dick, read do Android no do androids dream of electric sheep, and that's really the basis for Blade Runner, the remaking Blade Runner, and then you'll also find many of the elements in Westworld reflected in Philip K. Dick. He was something of one of these sci-fi visionaries who was actually, wittingly or not, working for the elite or articulating their vision, which is what I think. Look how many of these sci-fi writers are actually, see, here's what I've been talking about. Like, it's not a coincidence that, was it Arthur C. Clarke who invented the geostationary satellite in his sci-fi book? It's not a coincidence that these things come out of sci-fi, because what they do is they saturate the culture with these ideas and then they magically produce it once you understand how it works. You see how that happens? It's entertainment to media, and it's always advancing the power of the government. Rip Stephen Hawking. Overthought says, I think my uncle thinks I'm a Gnostic Satanist. He's a biblical literalist, globalist, Yeshua pusher. Ugh. Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you're a biblical literalist, for some reason they see Gnostics as the epitome of evil. But Gnostics traditionally, if you look at them historically or what they were about, it was just people who said, we don't need the middlemen of the church, which makes them a threat. Kind of like you not believing in the globe is a threat. You not believing in global warming is a threat. They're heretics. And just because you're a heretic doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't, it's like they have this undeserved reputation, and it scares a lot of Christians. But, you can't please everybody, and I don't know. IPS, your great grandmother's amazing. Yeah, I just heard about it recently, and I thought it was kind of interesting because I had kind of this impression that everybody was like going with the flow and brainwashed at that point. Okay, but my point is, yeah, it was Arthur C. Clarke. So these sci-fi writers, they put stuff into the consciousness. So later, when they sell it to you through the government, you think it's plausible. And so all these movies that we're seeing about space travel, and there's another one, I think it's called, there's one where they go into a coma and they're sent way out into space or something. They're getting us ready for this idea of being a multiplanetary civilization. And Elon Musk talks about it, and he talks about us being in the simulation theory universe. Well, this is it. Their simulation theories when they have parentless children raised by the state, controlled from cradle to grave or test tube to grave by a big brother nanny state in some type of augmented virtual reality enclosure. Who knows where it is? And we're going to be told they're on Saturn or some BS. And everybody's going to buy it. Because by that point, they'll have everything on lockdown that they probably won't allow these types of conversations to get anywhere near the precious little blank canvases that they are controlling. And that's why I thought it was just very revealing to see Jeff Bezos talking to these kids. And he wasn't talking to the kids like, do you want to be an astronaut? No, he was talking about the process of moving large volume of supplies and ice and stuff from here to here. He was talking about why you'd want to be on one of the poles, the architecture of the actual moon base itself. I mean, he was just getting a little technical, and the kids were just looking around like they couldn't give a crap. What's up, Four Eyes to See? Yeah, this was going to be my only live stream today. The one that happened earlier was just an accident. It was spontaneous. It wasn't planned, but it's necessary We can't let them get away with their deceptions, and we have to call them out all the time. Like, it's not enough to call out Sandy Hook the day after. You've got to keep on hitting it because they keep recycling it. They'll do memorials. The crisis actors will come back 5 years later and talk about what did happen. They'll use it to make movies. Like they have Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch did a movie about the Boston Marathon bombing. It's like you're doing a movie about a psyop, and when you're watching the movie, they give you a warning. Warning, graphic. You will see real footage from the news that day. It's like the news that day was fake. So we're getting a warning about fake stuff in a movie that's fake. It's like the levels of fakery are getting so deep. This is what they mean when Elon Musk says simulated universe. And when they get you into the simulated universe and you're in an echo chamber and you don't have anybody contradicting it, you can't see outside of it, they own your mind. It's no different than being in a religious cult. Bowman, 1987. I'm a fan of horror movies, but space movies as a kid would freak you out way more. Well, now I'm not even amused by them, but I keep getting these ads for space video games, and they look intriguing. The stories are intriguing. The story is intriguing, but it's like, that's all fake. And here's the thing. You don't have to give up on this stuff. If you're really into sci-fi, if you like these stories, if you're a sci-fi writer, instead of a distant planet in a this space ball universe, it's just a plane. It's like fundamentally no different, but they never let you conceive of it. Every single time that you're shown a science fiction, it somehow corresponds to what the government wants you to think about the way things are. You've never seen a movie about a flat infinite plane, or they really don't let your imagination articulate it, because it's like, I think it has to do with when we can imagine something, we're more likely to pursue it. Like they don't even want you to have the concept of freedom in your mind, the concept of escaping from this thing. TEIF says, Flat Earth Asshole did a 3-part on Joe Rogan and Mick West. Oh yeah, that's a good one. He brought up that you should occasionally see satellites in front of the moon. Yeah, he really broke that one down. I haven't watched part 3 yet. I've watched the first 2. You should post a link. Let me give you the links that you're posting here are going onto a notepad, and then they're going to be filtered into other areas like the Flat Earth Report. I'll be tweeting them. So anything you want to promote here, I'll promote it outside of this area too. Did I see the Lego World Game Flat Earth intro pics? Oh no, I haven't seen that yet. Let me take a look at it now. Someone sent me a meme on their phone. It was actually Anderson Cooper with the pooper scooper. Pretty good piece of work there. Okay. An email if you want to be a content creator, or if you want to get on the live stream for the 3rd hour, send an email to Infinite Plane Society, and we will get you onto the list. Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate you all sending me these memes. These are hilarious. Brought it up. Like, I asked someone if I was saying I wanted a shirt that has Alex Jones's face on it. Alex Jones, half of it Bill Hicks, and I wanted to say Alex Jones confirmed. And I was just talking about it, and someone made it and sent it to me. I haven't had it printed up yet, but I probably will. Bowman, 1987, you've mentioned The Village as a Flat Earth movie. Any other ones? So there's The Village. If you haven't seen The Village, you can find it on YouTube, or you can find it online for sure, because I just watched it. Room. The movie Room is a really good Flat Earth movie. Let's see. There's a few other ones. If you have any, let me know, because I'm compiling a list. Dark City, I'm going to watch that one again. Westworld for sure. Westworld has some interesting flat earth themes, and it also ties into the themes of Gnosticism, the idea of the creator not being God, but some intermediary, because these are men creating these androids that acquire sentience that you find in a few other movies. But yeah, any flat earth themed movies. I've been told Divergent. I have to look at that one. But the movie Room, absolutely. Matrix is a flat earth movie. I guess, yeah, you can make that case too. Let me pull that one up. Pleasantville, okay. Pleasantville. I need to definitely compile a list of these and maybe get some reviews done. Truman Show. Yes, Truman Show is actually a really good one. And Truman Show also explains I think, how they see us. Like we are in an actor-filled reality. There are actors everywhere. And this is what I'm saying when you're looking at these. Room is depressing. It is. Movie stars, and you see them on and off the screen. Remember, wherever they are acting. They are not spontaneous, and they're always pushing an agenda, and it's always political. They look like they're entertainers, but no, they're not really about entertaining. They're more about directing you, forming your opinions, and influencing your behaviors. The 13th floor. Good one. Twin Peaks is Pizzagate show. The new series is Flat Earth. Look. The Giver. Yeah, the Truman Show reveals so much because we're finding out more and more the more we look into this thing about how, like, we know we have controlled opposition and there are agents, there are influencers all over the place, but it's like, well, they're not just on the radio, they're not just on TV, they're not just on the internet, they're in all the churches, they're in all the clubs with a certain number of members, they're in all the corporations, they're in all the schools, they're in the city councils, and they're all basically committed to one thing, and that is this deception. Not to get paranoid, but it's very pervasive. It really is. And they're not all in the know. It's so compartmentalized. Under the Dome by Stephen King. Good one. Dark City, which I'm going to watch. Way BMX, we appreciate that. He says, rip Stephen Hawking. Everyone, a moment of silence for Stephen Hawking. Go Find the Other says, I create content for a local FM overnight show. Podcast for the web. Can I post a link? Yeah, please do. Absolutely. Here is your link. IPS, what if we quit using clocks on flat Earth? Good question. Clock is Saturn, Chronos, Father Time. That's such an interesting concept. This one Dark City kind of taps into this idea that everything could be fake. History could be totally faked. And the more I look into some of these things, it's like that's material to discuss at another night. But like I've been looking at this stuff where we can't underestimate the enemy. Like, you need to know what their capabilities are. How much can they change your face? Dan Tibbetts, thank you. Appreciate that. You think that has something else to do with their time? We don't have time for that kind of just straight name calling. Like, if you have something to say it. You can be polite. Hunger Games, do you consider that a flat Earth one? I can see that. Because remember, flat Earth isn't just about geography. It's not about sphere versus flat. That's just a symptom of it. The whole thing is, the bigger picture is the deception itself that made the globe possible. Aaron Hahn, I appreciate that. And thanks for your assistance, your contribution, the art show thing. And besides, this art show thing wouldn't happen if it wasn't for people like you who wanted to see it happen. And what I am doing is, all those who have contributed in various ways, we're going to send a little thank you in the form of a collection of these memes. So far, I've got it's time consuming, but I have the whole month of June. But what I'm doing is I'm taking a lot of the memes people are sending me, and I'm trying to build a collection of 4x6 postcards. You'll see. You will see. Same thing if you're on my Patreon. It's $3 a month or whatever, and you get a flat Earth meme every month. But we're building a collection of these things because I think they're very powerful. Like, the art's powerful. Obviously, the videos are, just the arguments are. But, a 4x6 flat Earth meme also has a certain ability to communicate things, because a lot of them are just comical. They're funny. They're jarring. Pictures worth 1,000 words type of thing. But these are Trojan horses, and they carry a lot of weight as far as starting a discussion. Like, I have a coffee mug, right, that just has the Chicago skyline, and it says, "Ask me about flat Earth." Because here you are with a coffee mug that says, "Ask me about flat Earth," kind of a joke, and it's got a skyline. But what's implicit is this shouldn't be visible, and it opens up the discussion, where's the curve? TheDailyPlane.com, can you create a Google Doc with the movie list? Yes. Good idea. And I'll make it so other people can add to it as well. You made a Mark Sargent t-shirt? Post a link. Citizen Kane. Is Citizen Kane a flat Earth movie? Because here's an interesting one. I noticed some interesting correspondences between the old Citizen Kane and a newer movie, Vanilla Sky, with the Scientologist guy. Well, the Vanilla Sky is about a guy. His name's David. He dies after falling in love with Sophia. David, Sophia, it has these Gnostic connotations to the names. He's 33 when he dies, and after a 3-day funeral, he comes back from the dead because it turns out he was in a coma. But it has this whole Gnostic myth retold in it. But in the movie, he owns a publishing company like the guy from Citizen Kane. And in Vanilla Sky, behind his back, all of his co-workers refer to him derisively as Citizen Dildo, which is obviously a rip on him for being like Citizen Kane. But I'll have to look into that. Because here's something too, is that when you look back at stuff that you haven't watched since before you came to certain revelations, you're able to see things you didn't see before, perceive a subtext you didn't see before. When I first saw The Village, I just thought it was a quirky movie about a weird cult. Now when I see it, it's an allegory. And this is the nature of what you'd call initiated interpretations. And that's why I say, if you've come down this far into this rabbit hole thing, you are privy to some of the most closely held secrets of the elite secret societies, things you're not supposed to know, meaning you shouldn't even have the initiated interpretations of some of these things that you're being shown. Yeah, we said Dark City, which I'm going to watch. I've been listening to the soundtrack on YouTube. I'm probably going to watch it tonight, to be quite honest. Mr. Drobot. And Mr. Drobot, I am. If you have your article, talk about that probably tomorrow or the next day. Excellent, excellent. You added the link. Good. Yeah. Hey, by the way, we're talking about predictive programming, and what Mr. Drobot is doing is he did a review, very well written, very professional work here, reviewing a video game which has certain themes, a lot of predictive programming, and video games are somewhat separate from movies and TV and everything because this is one place where the parents can't oversee, and this is where you're in a whole nother environment, and you're in the game, you're immersed in it. These are very immersive, interactive forms of media, and they're sending all kinds of subliminal messages. Sometimes it's in the narrative, sometimes it's subtle, but it's worth looking into and seeing what kind of stuff they're putting out there, because you can predict what they want to do by what they're seeding into the culture. That's why I say that movie Salvation coming up this summer is an interesting one, because if they're pushing this idea of an asteroid coming down, what do you think that means? It means that they want to see how feasible it is to convince us of it. Yeah, dailyplane.com. Mr. Drobot, please email him at contact@thedailyplane.com. We are the beginning of the Flat Earth Associated Press, you might call it, because the dailyplane.com and the flatreport.com, the flatearthreport.com, are both websites that are going to be sharing content from our content creators. So you get double the coverage. And it's all going to link back to your page or your blog or whatever it is. Elliot Hall, The Count of Monte Cristo. Now that's an interesting one. I wouldn't have considered that a flat earth one, but that's where you might say that the idea of Batman originates. We have this rich guy with a mask who punishes the bad people, rewards the good people. That started with the Count of Monte Cristo. And so it's kind of the same archetype. I don't know if it'd be flat earth, although there's one part in the story where he's taken up to the top of the highest mountain by Satan. I don't know if you remember this. Have you read that book in high school? Someone asks him, how did you become this person? This masked superhero person. And he says, I was taken to the top of the mountain and I was offered, all the kingdoms of the world. And I was asked what I want. And what he said was, I want to punish those who need to be punished. I want to reward the virtuous. I want to be an agent of God, an agent of providence. And that's what he was granted. And so the whole book, The Count of Monte Cristo, is basically this Batman-like character who basically wants to be the person who represents karma on earth, like an angel, you might say, but more of like a punishing angel, an angel of death who serves the good, even though it requires him to be something of a villain. It's a good book if you haven't read it. Let's see. What's up, Ryan Smith? Good night. Thank you for dropping by. So I'm going to be doing the same thing tomorrow, 8 to 11, hour 1 and 2, covering the news, getting callers on board. Sausage Party, Flat Earth movie. Okay. Yeah, a number of people have told me that. I haven't watched it yet because there's something I find it disturbing. These talking piles of meat and stuff. Like I find it really bizarre, but I'll check it out. And then you tie it all in with the whole Pizzagate thing and the way that these perverts use these types of foods like hot dogs as code words for stuff. And it's like, do I want to get that sickness in my head? But I'm curious to see. Infinite Plane Society question: if a rocket is launched into space and there's no artist to CGI it, does the rocket exist? Good. Very meme worthy. DEIF. Okay. So if somebody if you have any of the questions, type them in all caps. I'm more likely to see it. No, now somebody here says American Psycho overthought. Well, we're basically looking for flat Earth movies or movies with flat Earth themes. American Psycho, I don't know. I read the latest book by that author. His name is Bret Easton Ellis, and he did a book called, what is it called? Something about the moon. But anyway, it carries on where American Psycho left off. It's about the author himself. It's kind of autobiographical, but he's stalked by the characters from his older movies. Is very twisted, and it has to do with it sounds like recounting events that actually happened. It's called Lunar Park. If you liked American Psycho, and if you read his other books and you know those characters, read Lunar Park. It's really a trip. Not a flat Earth thing though. Things and ghosts and paranormal. That's kind of where it falls in. Waterworld, interesting. I'll take a look. Maze Runner, haven't seen it. So many of them. So right now, if you're just dropping in, we're making a list of movies with a flat Earth subtext. Because I have a couple of people, I have a forum for those who are contributing to the Flat Earth Report, and a number of people who want to do reviews. And so I want to get reviews of these movies published. And of course, they're all going to be tied to flat Earth. It doesn't have to necessarily be like the Earth is flat, but being tied to this whole bigger picture of the big deception. The Matrix in this context could be considered one. Steve Harthen says it's cool to watch these movies with new eyes. Exactly. Exactly. Bowman 1987, Lunar Park or Imperial Bedrooms. Yeah, it was a new one, Lunar Park. Imperial Bedrooms was pretty good too. Dante Jones, ODD's got a bunch of Flat Earth movies on his channel. Yeah, when this is over, to ODD's live stream, 24/7, good conversation with a bunch of people, and he has a bunch of must-see videos in circulation, in rotation. And by the way, at the Flat Earth Art Show, which is the first international Flat Earth Art Show, there's going to be a big screen TV with a YouTube playlist on a repeat. And so we'll be reaching out to people who make video creators, photo slideshows, any kind of content that will fit the theme will go into the playlist. So it'll be something of a background. This should be an anti-deception movement, not a flat Earth movement. Agreed. Agreed. But I have this analogy I've been using, which is because people have, like, should we downplay flat Earth? And I'm saying no, because flat Earth is what gives it all context. It's not necessarily about the Earth being flat. It's just about opening us up to the possibility that the deception's bigger than any of us could have imagined, which is true. But I've been using this analogy of when you're researching truth or you're researching the deceptions around you, it's like a bunch of puzzle pieces. And it's not until you have the flat Earth enter the equation that you have a context in which to place everything. So I looked at it as you have your hands full of puzzle pieces, and then you come across a table and you put them on the table, then you can assemble a picture. And until you have that flat surface to put the pieces down on, you're not going to be able to articulate what the picture is and see the whole thing. And a lot of people who get caught in different aspects of this are not able to see the forest for the trees, and flat Earth is the forest. Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. Okay, I'll take a look at that one. I know the original Mad Max, whatever it's called, with what's his name? the guy from Braveheart, Mel Gibson. There was an interesting subtext where he's walking across the desert with the it's like a broom handle or a stick across his back, and he's holding a can of gas on each side. And then he's walking up a hill, and you see him silhouetted like Jesus Christ walking up the hill. Like they do these archetypes, and he was saving the world with the fuel in his gas tanks. I mean, these subtexts are always worth looking at. And so I'm going back to a lot of these old movies and taking a look. So yes, Al Jean, do you want to call in? I got your message earlier. Callers right now or here in a minute because I don't know if I'm going to go the full 3 hours tonight because I was already for several hours this morning, and then the whole thing came up. Caveman 444, would it be cool if I bring a speaker to the show and make a flat earth music playlist with Lucifer, Tim, ODD, and others? Yeah, absolutely. Good idea. And I'm also working on, hopefully in the next week, I'll have a prototype of the globe pinatas that are in development. Overthought says there's a short movie on the IMDb called The Earth is Flat. It's about a young Amish boy who was taught the Earth is flat his whole life. You know what? I know which one you're talking about. That's what it's actually called. I remember there's a conversation he's having with his father or grandfather who's telling him it's all flat. I'll have to look at that one again. This guest says, activist suggestion, flash mobbing flat earth debunk channels, filling up the thread with flat earth comments and links to flat earth channels. What do you think? That's a good idea. Although sometimes I think that the flat earth debunk channels are just part of the same echo chamber. And Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole came by earlier, and he's like, well, why don't you find something that's slightly unrelated? Just look at whatever live chats are there. So like right now, live. Let me do a quick check here. I'm just going to see what live hangouts, and we'll find one that has 1,000 people in it. Well, I don't know how big these hangouts are. We'll see what we find. So live hangouts right now, we have the math checks out. No, that's a NASA thing. Let's find it. Find us a group. See if you can find something. Becky K says, I'm now creating artwork that features creatures from far across the plane. Yeah, like I remember when I was growing up, we had those Dungeons and Dragons and stuff where they'd have these monsters compendiums where it would just be several hundred pages of these mythical monsters, their attributes and all that. And it was always interesting to go through them. But it does kind of, when you think about this concept, it opens up some doors when you start thinking about, well, what would these other places be like? And if they're similar, you know, I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder, like, many of these things that have been introduced to us as myths might have a basis in reality, just not here. Open Pandora's Box says, rest is for those who do not understand momentum. Interesting. The Warlock says, one of IPS's burner phones went off. Yeah, you heard that. Yeah, that was my handler. Chainsaw Samurai says, I was commenting rip Stephen Hawking's on literally every video that came up in my thread. Overthought, you said SpongeBob SquarePants has a 24/7 live feed with 8,000 viewers. Go ahead and link it. Go ahead and link it. And then we'll, once that link is posted, I think I would like to just go over there and drop some globe exit or maybe rip Stephen Hawking. Pandora's Box, you were joking. Yeah, so was I, of course. Now I have this app on here, and I haven't been able to get it to work, and that's what's kind of frustrating about this. It's called Uber Conference, and I'm supposed to be able to just have people call in, and it's that easy. I get a phone number, but for some reason it won't stay connected to Hangouts. I was experimenting with it last week. It's some type of a glitch, and I don't know if they're going to fix it. And so the other option is to use Google Hangouts. The problem with that is it changes the pace. It's to me, it's always clunky. Google Hangouts is clunky. My handler said, go all three or cut early out tonight. Oh, yes. My handler wants me to cut out early. Flat Earth movie, Mr. Bones 2. You have a clip. Excellent. Share the clip. I'm going to have a Flat Earth movie night. Seriously. I didn't realize that there were so many, but you're right. We just didn't see it before. Mostly bots in the SpongeBob live feed, says deep inside the rabbit hole. Interesting. How much do bots cost and where can we rent some? Let's just pay for some bots to do this type of stuff for us. Hayden said, what if the flat earth is disproved in the end and then the true anti-deception movement will be tainted and discredited? That's funny. What is the true anti-deception movement? You mean like the politically correct conspiracy theories? You got to get rid of political correctness. I just remember this pattern. It was like, you're looking into 9/11, you're a conspiracy theorist. And then it was, you're looking into false flags. Well, now you're going to, it's like you're getting deeper, you're getting crazy, and then you kind of back off. But then if you looked into false flags and hoaxes, then you're going too deep. Then if you look into psyops, then you're discrediting legitimate research. Like every step of the way you go further, you go deeper, somebody's going to say, don't go a step further. Don't go a step further. Don't look into that. You're going to discredit the work we've done so far. And it's like, listen, the flat earth is the most discredited, reviled, hated idea out there. It's not going to get any more discredited than it already is, because the discrediting is done by those who have a vested interest in us not knowing about it. And you know what? Consensus doesn't make truth. So the fact that they can create this illusion of a consensus doesn't change anything. The facts are the facts. And as soon as people can recognize these facts for themselves and see through the haze, the media haze, game over. We don't have to worry about people's opinions. Like, oh, that discredits flat earth. Who cares? And something else, by the way, and those who say don't look at it because it will discredit things, just to understand flat earth at the very basic level, you have to have seen through all kinds of psyops. You have to recognize that the media lies, the scientists lie, the religions lie, your school lies, your educational, your institutions of higher learning are just basically brainwashing people with Jesuit junk. So just to get this far, you have to have a certain level of insight. You have to have seen through a certain level of the deception, and not just specific deceptions or specific psyops, but the methodology itself. Just the knowledge of crisis actors wasn't well known until 5 or 6 years ago. It wasn't common parlance, but now you can look back, look at the Timothy McVeigh thing, total fake. But back then, there's no way you could have known this. And you're right, Lee Harvey Hitler, political correctness has no use here. And moreover, facts themselves don't care about anybody's feelings. Jay Analyze says, I wonder what other truths we'll find out in 5 or 10 years. Well, I think it's going to be like breaking a dam, and that we're going to find out a lot of stuff really quick if this thing works. Because in 5 years, if we're not that far, listen, next year, Jeff Bezos is going to have his moon base, his movie that the masses are going to believe. And if they get that far, it's going to be far more realistic than the ISS. We're looking at discrediting the ISS, spending a lot of time on it, which is valuable. But at the same time, while they're doing that, they're building the next generation of deceptions. They already have these things built. They're just unleashing them. It's not like they're building a moon base movie studio somewhere right now as we speak. They've already got it, and how they're going to introduce it. And they've invested a lot of money into it. So you wonder, where does all this money go if they're not actually launching these big rockets? They're just doing balloons. Well, now we know. They've got their multi-planetary civilization Truman Show set up already there. It's already built. We just don't know where it is. Flat Enough says, fornicate political correctness. I agree. Political correctness is a term, I think it was coined by Chairman Mao, and it's just about thought policing. It's like this idea. I mean, here's the thing. Freedom of speech is there to protect offensive speech. It's not there to protect speech that is polite, because polite speech doesn't need any protections. Spiritual North says, IPS, you're better than Netflix. I appreciate that. Last night we had a a listener donate to the super chat, and he said this is better than Netflix, and I'm like, I made the point that if you're paying for Netflix, you're paying for your monthly $10 a month. Every single time somebody subscribes to Netflix, every time Netflix gets another subscriber, Bill Nye the Science Guy buys another bow tie. So stop buying bow ties for that guy. That preening narcissist has all he could possibly need in his life. We just need less of him. So you got to stop giving money to the parasites, to the mind controllers, to the government propaganda, disguised as entertainment. Jay Analyze, IPS and chill, exactly. Or IPS and chill. Maybe I ought to make that one. By the way, let's see if my Trust Me has sold anymore. Because that's the cheapest you can go. Put in it for me. Well, maybe there's like $1 a shirt, if that. But I did this to be sarcastic. I got tired of being called a shill. And so 7 of them sold. Not too bad. That's ridiculous. Have I seen Iron Sky? No, I haven't. Is that got a flat earth subtext? Okay, Al Jane, you've got about 10 vids on your channel. Okay, let's go ahead and bring you on for a minute here. Send me an email to infiniteplainsociety@gmail.com. I want to test this out. Al Jane, you just canceled your Netflix today. Good work. If you find something of value, you can account for it. I mean, it's really up to you. But if you're going to keep your Netflix, give Bill Nye a thumbs down, as if he needs it. Like, everybody knows how reviled that guy is. He's jumped the shark so many times. It's ridiculous. I mean, how many times can he totally, like literally, he could get on a jet ski and jump over a shark like the fawns, which is where the phrase comes from, and people would still accept him as long as he's wearing the white smock. Someone was saying we should just all get like white smocks, hashtag on it, and just go around telling Globies, hey, it's flat, and they'll say, well, he's got a white smock, so flat. There wouldn't even be any cognitive dissonance. They would just switch from baller to flat earther just upon seeing the smock. That's how conditioned they are to respond to these things. It's Pavlovian. And then any of you know any filmmakers, let me know. Brainstorming this idea of, could we get like a dedicated movie studio to do a live spoof imitation of the ISS? And I think we could. Way BMX says, there was some superficial whore at Netflix head office, and I triggered her when I said, no one wants to F her, and Netflix needs to get better content to compete with free flat earth YouTube. Good. I like that. That's a customer comment. That's some feedback. Elliot Hall says, IPS and shill is a meme-worthy t-shirt. I agree. And here's my rationale for this. If people are going to call you a shill or a liar or a spy or whatever, if they're going to call you that just because you have opinions, then there's nothing you can say that's going to get them to back down. Demanding things from me, like, show me your birth certificate, show me what lodge you went to, who signed your petition, tell me everything. It's like, screw you, you don't deserve any of it. It's not about me, it's about the information. And you're going to call me a shill regardless, so I'm just going to own it. And once you say, yeah, I'm a shill, once you let them know this, they don't have anything else, and it kind of just deflates their whole approach. It takes the wind out of their sails. A shill. I'm like, yeah, trust me, I am a shill, 100%. Now let's talk about the fact that the Earth is flat, and you just kind of steer the conversation back to the facts, because this is it's about the facts. The Warlock says flat Earth is all pros. The only con is that there's no refunds with flat Earth. Yeah. People don't really, once they see the truth, they don't really go back. Okay, so I'm posting a link here to YouTuber here. Please check out that and subscribe. If you want to promote any channels or link them, I'm building a list here. And I'm going to go through them, categorize them, and review them. I have content reviewers who want to publish on blogs and get featured on the flatearthreport.com. If you haven't seen the Flat Earth Report, every day. If you subscribe, you'll get the headlines in an email just once a day. It's all condensed, so it's not going to be spam. First to know the next time another athlete or, you know, failed actor or whatever, or somebody just bomb in the right place at the right time in order to, get media attention, you'll be the first to know. You don't have to wait, to find out after somebody reports on it. And you've got to be at the tip of this thing. Okay. I'm trying to see if I can get some system of getting people to call in. I'm really bad with Hangouts and getting people on, and it disrupts the flow. What I wanted to have is a number where someone calls. You get, 10-minute conversation, hang up, next person, 10 minutes, hang up. And I don't know if I can make that happen. I can do. Anybody have any suggestions? Or is being able to take calls? Thanks, Boogity Coo. Exactly. On a level, I've decided that even the people who there's a lot of mud flinging, as you might expect, but it really doesn't matter all that much. It won't matter once the tidal wave, once this thing hits, once there's 100,000 more content creators overnight. When you have a big influx of new content creators, new commenters, people who are new to this field, it's just going to be a mess. And there will not be enough shills to control it. There won't be enough trolls to shut it down. And the social cost for making content will go down exponentially. Like 2 years ago, if you made a video on the subject, you'd be called out as a loon. But the more people that put out contents, there aren't enough trolls and haters and shills to go around. Okay. We went over to the Earth Discussions 2.0, like 50 of us, and we just spam their comments with hashtags of globe exit and everything else. People with wrenches to shut us down, and we effectively took it over for a little while. Spiritual Noah says use Skype. Okay. I haven't done Skype before with this. I hate Skype. It's slow and it's clunky and it crashes my computer, but okay. If I use Skype, I'll be able to take calls. Is that what you're suggesting? Because if that's the case, then I'll probably just start that tomorrow. And here's really savvy and you want to get on the phone, but like I said, I don't like disrupting the flow. I don't like technical errors. Enough says we need a decentralized platform, just a heads up for the back of your heads. Yeah, they would like nothing more. When I say they, the powers that should not be would like nothing more for this to stay a YouTube phenomenon. They don't want the genie to get out of the bottle. Lucifer Tim, give someone a screen. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to try to do the call-in thing. I've had nothing but poor results trying to get callers on. I mean, sometimes it works out. I'll have to try it out. Not slow if you use only audio. I'll figure it out. For call-ins, I just want, just audio call-ins. But I hate Skype. Flat Enough says you hate Skype, as does everyone with a functioning brain. Yeah, Skype is obnoxious. It is intrusive, and for some reason, it's very clunky. That's my best description for it. Antonio Subarat said Google Hangouts is how you get multiple people on. Yeah, I've tried it, but it's the problem with it is that there's this when you're talking on Google Hangouts, it kind of like the flow breaks up. And I like the flow of like standard talk radio where somebody calls in 5 or 10 minutes and the next person, and you filter through calls, you crowdsource info, you field more questions, and it flows. Hangouts are perfect for like longer conversations and interviews, rambling discussions, but I'm talking about more like somebody calls it like a standard radio format. I would say along the lines of what the late great Ellen Combs used to do. Now, Ellen Combs is a totally controlled person, but he was very skillful at this fielding of calls, dealing with trolls. I used to call in. I used to troll radio stations quite a lot. So we are closing in on hour 2. So the hour 3, I'll be taking calls. Who wants to call in? I don't care if you're someone who disagrees with me. In fact, I would like to have somebody that hates my guts. Um, one of these haters ought to call in. Actually, I would like, and I don't know if there are any here, but I would like a Hitler fanboy to call in so you can set me straight about Walt Disney or Hippie Hitler, whoever she is. I get that one wrong, and I've just been banning these people. I'm like, you're a Mein Kampf thumper. Get out of here. Flat Enough says the absolute best is to have a call-in number and cheap hardware mixer for volumes in your PC. That's what I'm thinking, and I'll probably have that ready by tomorrow. I want to have a call-in line. Google Hangouts is better than Skype. I don't want to do Skype. Platonic Form says it's looping. Is it looping? Is there a thing? Okay, so let's move forward. Yeah, Ellen Combs has passed. I'm going to post a link again. This was a jogger. Don't know who this person is. Aggregator, and it's worth looking at. He's jogging around the park, around the block, passing other joggers and letting them know Earth is flat. Wanda O'Reilly. I found out the New Testament is older than the Old Testament today, around 600 years, and it can be proved. The New Testament is older than the Old Testament. Interesting. I'm curious about that. Let me know. Let me know, because textual analysis, how do they determine that? It's all BS as far as I'm concerned. It's all been malleable. It's been regurgitated, recycled. Wake the Sheeple says, ask Jaron what they use on Glowbusters. Yeah, I'll check that out. I know it's pretty easy. I've seen people do it with like a desk mic and then a speakerphone. You know, even that's a possibility. Shall see. Have it fixed by tomorrow regardless. Let's see what else is going on. Now here's an article. It's a big deal when we talk about these celebrities. I mean, coming out with this like flat earth thing. I remember like that was all the rage for like the last year. It's like people are waiting for some celebrity to come out and say the earth is flat. That's good for is getting people talking about it. That we're going to have some type of revelation from above is ridiculous. I've come to the conclusion that celebrities are only celebrities because they toe the line. Celebrity status is based on them serving the elite. Basically, in this psychological warfare against you, they don't believe have to. They just got to spout the party lines. But it says mind control books. You got to read Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. Maybe you can find it here online. Well, that one actually I was going to bring up earlier because examining something here. Like a lot of these high-profile cases of these serial killers could be psyops, faked for different reasons, and that's something else worth considering because it's easy to, when you look for psychological operations and deceptions, it's easy to pay attention to the big ones, like the one in Manchester. Ones we got to pay attention to as well, and they happen in more areas than just with violence. There are so many different scams that are being played on us. These are appointed exactly. Kyle McDonald says, force the line so celebs who don't go flat earth look stupid. Ron Fig says it has to be a respected celebrity or it'll be more fuel for insults. Yeah, that's one of their weapons. You're right. One of their weapons is trying to discredit it by attacking the messenger. Mark Fanning says, anything worth doing via snail mail? Well, the report.com every week as a print on demand. That's one way to get it out into the public. And the first one will be released on Saturday. And so by next week, you'll have an idea of what it's going to look like. And I've figured out the company that I'm going to work with and the format. And it may not be like anything more than just like a simple magazine or 6x9, I think it is, like comic book size, but full color. And I want to do full color so you get full color memes, photographs, pictures of places that you shouldn't be able to see. Like, how many of you have looked at beyondhorizons.eu? Got to take a look at this. I'll put a link below. Pictures. Things like this will be going into it. The Warlock says, this should be trending on YouTube. Gatekeepers give us new fish. Yeah, snail mail. Here's something too, is with Patreon, I'm probably going to just do a subscription thing. I want to like make it sort of like an automatic thing, so you get them every week if you wanted to do that. But like, I'm looking at the power of using to get outside of the YouTube echo chamber and get it in places where it ordinarily wouldn't get. Dailyplane.com says, tomorrow I'm going to research and price out billboards and drop some designs. Yes, if you do that and you put it up for a crowdfunding campaign, we will all jump behind it. Absolutely. We want to do a billboard thing. And a billboard would also serve as not just like this weird anomaly, people talk about it, you could call the local radio shows and draw attention to it, but it will become something of a landmark where, like, if I saw a flat earth billboard, I would want to take a picture in front of it. So billboards, yes. It says website too cluttered. Which website? That's a fragment. Websites. Which one's too cluttered? Go to a different one. Flat Enough says billboards are regulated places. Yeah, you have to call the actual companies, and that's what I believe she's going to do. You got to find out the price, what the specifications are for the design, and what the limitations are, and find out if it's got any sort of controls over it or any sort of like, because these are private, it's private property. They have their rules, but solid flat earth message in there. Good evening, Adam Young. Thanks for dropping by. This is the Flat Earth Report, episode 1. By tomorrow, I'm going to have this thing in order. There's this idea, I think it's like a good plan executed is better than a perfect plan executed next week. Who was that? I think that was Patton. But the idea here is that I figured, well, I'll just get started. I did a trial yesterday. This is one, but because by tomorrow I plan to have the call-in segment perfected so that you can call in, and then I'm going to have a screen share so I can go over certain things that I'll be discussing about. Dailyplane.com, yes, that's dangerous. Yeah, I'm curious, what's going to happen until in the indoctrination camp start questioning what they're told? How there's always been these debates over teaching creationism in school. Isn't that such a false debate now that you know what's going on? Like, people would debate it. Do we want prayer in school? Do we want to teach creationism and give equal time to creationism and evolution? That's a false debate. Creationism and evolution are both, in the sense that they're religious explanations for reality. One is the religion of the government, state-olatry, heliocentrism, of course, is the more traditional one, but it's such a false debate. There is no separation of church and state. My digital watch says I want car stickers that I can order, magnets. I sat in a 24/7 grocery store parking lot listening live with the windows down. Lots of ears around to hear the mention of flat earth. Okay. So if you're going to be there, your car's out, for some reason your windows are down and people are listening, you want some sort of magnetic stickers to put on the side of your car. Good idea. Excellent. EBK Devious says, I love it. I've got most of my friends watching your vids, reading your books. Oh, that's interesting. Appreciate that. You know, these are ideas that are very important that we get them outside of this thing. And the way they control YouTube is so fascinating to me. I have a huge just list now of trolls, because I don't like, one of the things I'll do is I'll say inflammatory things to bring the trolls out, hit them with the wrenches, and it goes into my folder. And I'm looking through them, and I'm like, you can break them down. I'm not saying they're all paid, but this is just a very heavily policed arena. You're not going to find this much thought control and contention around anything else. And if it was fake, if there was nothing to hide, there wouldn't be all of this attention on it. I think it's such a Do you know what I mean? Chainsaw Samurai says, I got a great psyop, but I need a fake story as proof. Let me know what it is. We have to fight fire with fire, and if they're going to run psyops on us, we can run psyops. Like today, all kinds of people were posting this rip Stephen Hawking's, and others would go behind. They would say things like, "We're going to miss you. I learned so much from you." So we had our own little Robbie Parkers doing their Robbie Parker thing, just pretending to be sad. We were crisis acting today. It's like, hey, they're gonna play, they're gonna stoop that low. Why shouldn't we? Plane.com, quoting me correctly, the creator doesn't write books. Exactly. The ultimate psyop, precisely, that's correct, Ron Fig. Anybody who says that flat Earth is a psyop, illusion, because the globe is the psyop, the flat Earth is the anti-psyop. I hear this meme going around by some of the trolls. It's a cult. No, sorry, it's the anti-cult. A cult is like, really seriously, a cult is something that doesn't tolerate free thinking or any sort of line. And this is a group of free thinkers. It's like herding cats. There isn't unanimous agreement. I mean, we all agree that we're agnostic about it being a ball, but that's about it. That's about as far as we can get. Yeah, and pay attention to all the things they taught you when you were little, the things that before you had a chance to question it. And I think the dinosaurs and the asteroids a big one. I mean, look at how they're plotting out these different things to be used against us. So I'm thinking if they can't alien invasion to be passable, if they can't trick us with it, if their CGI is not there, if they don't think they can pull it off, how hard is it to fake an asteroid? Asteroid landing on one city somewhere is going to be enough to reinforce the delusion. And part of that is, well, it's problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialectic. It's, okay, now we know there are asteroids that could come down and hit us. Therefore, more so they can develop lasers so they can shoot this thing out of the air, out of the sky. Four Eyes to See says, I rarely agree with IPS. Interesting. Rarely agree with me. That's surprising. Well, not really. We're all on the level with the whole flat thing, and that's about all that really matters. We can hash out our differences later. Ron Fig, your 20-year-old son's a little more open to flat Earth. Yeah, I think the big question that we don't know is how many of the people who haven't taken a firm position, because there's the cultural default, which is what you just absorb, and then there's what you choose, and a lot of people really haven't chosen sides. There's a big gray area. People will go where the facts go, where the facts are. People will go with the truth when it's revealed. Anthony Carter says, I don't mean to troll, but control of flat Earth. My phone told me news about flat Earth research as well as suggesting multiple creepy things as my phone knows me. Elaborate. Okay, thedailyplane.com. Have Four Eyes to See call in. That's a good one. Yeah, I would like to have someone call in. I really would, but you've got to be hooked up on Google Hangouts, and I'm not in a place right now to walk anybody through it. But tomorrow I'll have the call in line, just so you know. Luke Donnelly says, all the flat earthers I know are in their 20s. Now that's interesting. And I found that many people who've stumbled upon this or woke up to it are, 60 and above. It just goes across all demographics. That's why I've been calling this thing, the flat earth movement, whatever you want to call it, something of a meta tribe. Because there's such a diverse group of people. There's really nothing common beyond one thing. We've all seen through the bullshit. EBK Devious says, because normal people don't see this stuff. Well, see, I think that normal people, for the most part, are blind because they have this blind faith and trust. But if they just see through some aspect of it, it's kind of like it snowballs. You see through a false flag and then a psyop, and you can't be selective about it. Like I found myself for quite some time, if there was a school shooting, I would call it out as a hoax. But if it was an Islamic terrorist attack, I would treat it as real. I'd be like, oh, well, they actually want to kill us. And I was like, why am I choosing which psyop to believe in based upon whether or not it serves my partisan bent? You know, it's like, and then I realized these things are partisan. And that's how they get people to believe in it. It feeds into your preconceptions. So if you believe in 9/11, you believe in the whole clash of civilizations between the Islamic world and the West, if you buy into that and you feel like you're threatened by it and that you're on the other side, then you're going to be more inclined to believe that psyop. Now, if you're raised and you're to be scared of guns, you believe in gun control, and you think that people with guns are crazy and they need to be regulated, and then something like Sandy Hook goes down, you're going to be inclined to believe that. If you believe in racist KKK Klansmen everywhere, and then someone like Dylan Roof in this psyop shoots blacks in a church, you're going to believe that. All the psyops are designed to be sold to a certain group. And it wasn't until I recognized that these things are very partisan for them all together. And now it's like, no, flat earth thing caused me to disbelieve in the threat of Islamic terror. The world became a safer place for me. The death tolls went down. My perceived the perceived levels of danger, like you feel like there's this threat level, like they used to do, like the threat level today is orange or it's red or it's green. With the post 9/11 threat assessments, where they would post it on the TV, how likely are you going to get bombed today? All that's just hype. The media, the mainstream media, is a terrorist organization. And the world seems a lot safer and less unpredictable since I've seen through this stuff. DailyPlane.com says, my young girl tells me I can't mention flat earth or elite gender inversion at the dinner table. Is that what? TheDailyPlane.com says, I'm pretty sure Islamic terror doesn't exist. And to the extent that it does exist, it's provocateur to it. Especially this latest one. I didn't even have to look into it. Like, honestly, flat earth has almost made me an auto hoaxer. And I shouldn't be like that. I ought to actually look into it, but I did. I looked into it. I'm like, okay, what's going on? It's just so textbook. It's a blueprint. And I got to find this article where something about the NASA ISS were saying they saw the blast from space. I need to look into that. Anthony Carter says, can we all just give props to ODD TV? The way he makes his music? Yeah, post a link. Post a link to his SoundCloud or to his Spotify. I've been listening to his new album. Take a look at let me see if I have a link to it here. So yeah, if you want to promote anybody's content, their music or whatever, by all means, please do. A review of his album, which was just released. I can guarantee you, even if you're not into this type of music, you'll probably like this because the lyrics, it's all very much very well researched. You can tell he's produced this. Here's the link. Take a look. I would listen to the song Cartoon Ball. And let's see, there's a couple others on there I would recommend. Let me see. I think it's track number. So yeah, on the link I just posted, album, listen to and Prison for Your Mind. Prison for Your Mind is the one I thought was most interesting. Anyone got that link? Excellent. IPS, did Mitch Hedberg really die? I don't know. I'll look it up. Yeah, four eyes to see. An auto hoaxer is someone who sees something that looks like a psyop on the news, and they want to be the first person on YouTube to call it out as a hoax. And it's for views. It's to the point where you can bet on it. So if there's a school shooting, you can write down, like the last one at San Bernardino. I put a video, San Bernardino shooting hoax. I made a video the instant I saw the headline. And I just was observing that all of the people there, all the concerned parents, made the same statement to the news. We need some type of an app so we can know our kids are okay. The schools need better communication with our phones, like some type of class dojo app they were pushing. Well, anyway, I was one of the first ones to post that video up, and I did get a lot of hits. And sure enough, the evidence comes rolling in. You can almost guess it. It's so dumb. Like I was saying earlier, if you wanted to just place your bets on whether or not something's a hoax or a psyop or just fake, bet that it is every single time, and you will be right more than 80% of the time. It's that bad. That's how bad they're getting. That's how desperate they are, and that's how difficult it is for them to get away with this stuff now that they have so many people watching them. Flat Enough says, let's have a semi-permanent predictive column of what will NASA do to cover their asses in case. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. Al Jean, great song, Prison for Your Mind. Yeah, Prison for Your Mind on ODD's new album, it's killer. Lyrics are just, here we go, post it again. That one in Cartoon Ball, the lyrics you're going to want to check out, and you'll totally get it. Totally get it. Hoffmeister 15, no, he's not. And it's not constructive to call people shills, even though people call me shills all the time, but I wear it with pride. Trust me, I'm a shill. Yeah, the song Cartoon Ball, you must listen to that one, probably first. Toto Cult, what was up with Eric Dubé's last video? I haven't checked it. Did he do anyone? Well, there have been there's always this contention though. It's kind of interesting to watch. If you've been following this subject matter for any period of time, anybody who produces videos is called a shill. Luke Donnelly says, I heard you say this before realizing these events are hoaxes, and it's hard for people to understand, people to look into it. I think one of the best documentaries is called We Need to Talk About Sandy Hook. I think he did a lot of investigation, and that one has the clearest examples. But that one, and also what I noticed, it was with the Boston Hoaxathon, that I remember that was the first time I really saw real-time dissection of a psyop in progress. Like, people were dissecting it as it occurred. The photographs that were being leaked were being evaluated, and people were just matching everything up and time stamping it. That thing was taken apart. Pretty amazing. Rich Planet debunked the Mars rover years ago. Doesn't surprise me. The Mars rover. Where's that one again? It's in Arizona or Greenland. And people still believe all this stuff. Sandy Hook, asbestos and no internet connection. Yeah, exactly. What kind of a school wouldn't have any work orders, internet connection, or anything? For 2 years, the thing was nothing but a stage. EBD Devious says, even the fake actor Feds wasn't moving right, and the dad was at the Paris bombing too. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think we do need a flat enough. You're right. We need to make some memes connecting this balloon to the rocket thing, because that's really something else. Like, to me, that really bowled me over. I mean, I thought bubbles in space was a glitch, was a chink in the armor, was an angle, but no, it's been even more discredited now. Now that we know that NASA rockets are just cylindrical blimps. I mean, that is so messed up. And this is from the beginning. They use special effects, they use sound effects to make it look like more than it is, but these rockets are literally no more than cylindrical blimps with rocket propulsion. It's pathetic. Robert and Diana, what's happening? By the way, there's no curve, exactly, or it's still flat. So by tomorrow, I will have a screen share situation so I can go over the flat Earth report, and I'll have a call-in number, and I'll be taking calls on and off. So that's going to be that'll be in the works by tomorrow. I'll have it figured out. I didn't have everything right today. I was testing it out and I couldn't get the apps to work, but by tomorrow it'll work. So I'll have a call-in number, because I want this to be interactive for these 3 shows, because I get so many great ideas from people. And then I want to be able to field questions and then speak to people who disagree with me. I get people who call me like a shill. It's like, hey, if you want to call me a shill, then call me on the phone and let's talk about it, because you obviously have a problem and you need someone to talk to. Cartoon Ball says, yeah, they use liquid nitrogen on those mass and blast-offs that don't seem to go nowhere after all this fake smoke. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. These rockets, especially SpaceX, I'm telling you, Elon Musk ruined it. I think he blew their cover because his stuff was so obvious. His rockets, I'm like, why are they hovering like that before they go up? Not like a bottle rocket that just launches. No, these things drag. And it's like, I live near one of the biggest balloon fiestas in the world, And I've watched these balloon launches, these mass ascensions, and the rate and the pace and the way it looks when one of these balloons gets launched looks identical to the way these rockets go up. They're just fireworks. I mean, think about it. It's an inflatable space wiener with a bunch of fireworks and smoke. Nobody's in it, no satellites. There's no outer space. We see through this shit. And all these globies, they own it. They got to own it. They got to be like, yeah, I believe that. But the more we look at it, the more that's untenable. I watched a SpaceX landing on a barge. You could see the thing bending like a big hot dog wiener. I'm like, why is that SpaceX rocket bending? What's it made out of? Styrofoam, rubber? A big rubber rocket? Has a link to Flatter Songs. Thank you. And good night, Flat Trotter SS. Appreciate you dropping by. I'll have a call-in line open tomorrow. So if you have any questions, call in tomorrow. I'll be on from 7 to 10 Mountain Time. Yeah, dailyplane.com, the special effects guy in the virtual reality gauntlets and augmented contacts that the astronauts wear. Very intriguing. So those of you who haven't seen it, let me find the guy's video. There's a link. I think I'll have to pull it up. I'll post it in the links below. There's this video that came out where they're showing how the reason why these astronauts are goofing up like they are is that they're interacting with virtual reality objects. So the video where the guy passes the blue hat to the other guy and he reaches for it, he grabs empty space and hangs the empty space up on the wall and the hat's still floating there. Well, what happened was he's wearing augmented virtual reality contact lenses. And those lenses allow him to interact with the virtual reality object as though it's really there. And it's not perfect yet. And that was a glitch. So he's looking at the hat and he's thinking he's moving it and that we're being fooled by it. I thought it was just video compositing. But no, it's VR. Flat Enough says, I don't believe the VR contacts exist. The astronauts are looking at a monitor. It could be either one. The way that they seem to be looking at the fourth wall, so to speak, I think you might be right with a monitor. I think that might be right. Yeah, you might be onto something because, you know, they're interacting with the camera in a certain way that it seems like they're being directed. If you've ever paid attention to these people, they're being directed. There is a fourth wall, and behind that fourth wall is not outer space. So you may be right. It could be both, but there's certainly something with a monitor. But this person did make the case that they're interacting with virtual reality objects, regardless. Chainsaw Samurai says the billboard should say, "Why are there bubbles in space? Because flat Earth will be rejected." Yeah, it may be. Hopefully, during his research tomorrow, we'll find out what could be acceptable. Flat enough. It's like somebody's watching a teleprompter. Such a big hoax. I mean, these people like the ISS. If you still believe in the ISS, you haven't looked into it. It is one of the most easiest. It's like it's the Sandy Hook. Really, it's a Sandy Hook level glitches in that thing. Like with Sandy Hook, you could disprove it just by looking at the footage they give you. You don't even have to dig very deep. But the ISS, we get them with the harnesses more than anything. I mean, the bubbles in space is good. People have their answers. They'll say it's debris. They'll lie about it, but the harnesses get it. There was like a couple of videos where you see them literally trying to fidget with these harnesses that shouldn't even be there. It's if you believe in the ISS, you're just lazy. Elliot Hall says hashtag no floors. Yeah, people aren't ready for that one, but that is true. We won't mention that right now. Although on Friday night or Saturday night, actually, I'm probably gonna. There's a few subjects I want to get into. Chris Sovereign says, "Can you post again if you already did? I have not seen." Yes. If they can make a movie like Star Wars, how can they not fake any sort of CGI? Exactly. Anything they can do in the movie theater, nightly news. This is a good one. They live, we are waking up. I like that. Jane says here, I worked as a firefighter for 30 plus years. Keep up the good work and truth. Thank you. Appreciate that. Rip Aaron Dover, exactly. If you haven't seen Aaron Dover's channel, take a look. Aaron Dover, he has so many interesting ideas. Hopefully he faked his death, but that's probably wishful thinking. Okay, so I'm going to be on for another 15 or so. Let me see here. Bring on a guest. This is kind of a test run. A different format. I'm going to be using a call-in format, but we're going to try a Google Hangout just to see how this works. Cartoon says you've been trolling YouTube channel and they've banned you. Way that Chris Hadfield is unaware of the protest that Kyle McDonald had in front of his event. They know we've called them out. I was all over his channel, and I was his son's channel, in fact. Chris Hadfield has his son has a YouTube channel, and I was on there calling his dad a fraud. Kyle McDonald says, "Yo, IPS, give a shout out to all the lurkers who never comment or interact but are here for every show." Yeah, actually, there are a lot of people listening who aren't commenting, and I definitely appreciate you listening. There's 238. I would like to think that at least 200 of you are these deceptions to not believe we're on a spinning ball. I don't think we have as many globies as we used to. Quality control is at an all-time high here. We don't take any crap from people who want to distract the conversation from the facts. Rule here, it's basically no thumpers. Whether you're thumping a Mein Kampf, a Bible, or a globe, you're out of here. If you thump a mainstream media narrative, you're out of here. Kyle McDonald, please post a link to your channel so people can subscribe. Kyle McDonald has been doing some street level activism, whether it's buying a painting of a globe and burning it with gasoline, or protesting Chris Hadfield, or just talking to people in public. And I did post a link earlier today. It was kind of funny. I don't know who this guy is, but he's just some random jogger. Have a nice day. The Earth is flat. Have a nice day. The Earth is flat. It's called Flat Earth Active. Flat Earth dot, which is a free domain. If, by the way, you need a domain, you don't want to buy one, use .tk. It's a good way to organize your content into a certain. Okay, here we go. There's a link right there, flatearth.tk, and what you'll see is some random flat earther I've never heard of is. And tomorrow I'll have a screen share, so you'll be able to see what I see. But for now, you'll have to click that link. And it's someone jogging around. It looks like a racetrack or something. Maybe it's at a. There's no outer space. Okay, it looks like this is some type of a 5K. Whatever it is, the video link I just posted is pretty awesome. This guy just randomly jogging down the street, letting the other joggers know, hey, just a friendly PSA, Earth's flat. The Warlock says there are at least 66 agents at any given time. 66 agents. That would mean in 4 of you is an agent. That's kind of high. That means most of them are probably silent because I'm not seeing them in the comments here. Unless you're really, really shrewd and we're just not detecting it. Horizontal Horizon says, can't comment all the time, working on a drawing for a 65-foot vessel. Fascinating. Be interested in seeing any of your art. And if you have any art related to Flat Earth and you want to have prints made, if you just got photographs or memes, send me an email, infiniteplainsociety@gmail.com. The art show is going to take place in July. So really starting next week, I'm going to really kick it into high gear as far as actively reaching out to individuals and having you send me the work. If you don't have the work available as like a print, we will find what the best option will be as far as getting your work printed on a canvas or a poster and sent to the gallery. Agent Smith, will you please stand up? Says anonymous guest. Flat Enough says empowers one to act batshit crazy. Check out Polarization Nation Media. Yeah, he has some good work. I'll have to go check it out again. Does he know the Earth is flat? I would hope so. He's seen through so many other things, but Flat Enough says IPS counter cyber stalking tips. Keep dossiers. It's really easy to do. I open up a Google document and just copy and paste comments. Make sure you don't have to be totally like psychotic about it, but just keep records of keep the names so you can search them later. Harvey Hitler, you're an Illuminati shill. Awesome. But here's the thing, I wouldn't get too worried about the stalkers or the trolls and cyber stalkers because they're not going to matter when this thing really blows up. There's not enough of them to control this thing. But as far as cyber stalking goes too, the best thing you can do is never use your real name. I mean, you can, but there's always a penalty for speaking your mind. But that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about, by the way, before we close out. There shouldn't be a high social cost to speaking your mind. You shouldn't feel like just because you want to make a video or upload something or talk about this, that suddenly your whole life's going to be torn open. It's like if you run for political office, the media gives you an exam. Essentially, they do a deep level of vetting. They're very invasive, and people act very invasive, and that just shows their lack of genuine arguments. It's not the position of somebody who has their facts straight to go investigate a person. It's just ad hominem. I have stalkers. Like I had a stalker today, really kind of obnoxious because here's the thing. Last year, I sold my eBay store to a lady who has a shoe store. And I was like, yeah, here, you can use it. I'm not using it anymore. So it was a simple exchange. The thing is, if you look through the reviews of this eBay account, if you go back that I sold the store, you see reviews for my artwork. And then after that date, it was like November or something, nothing but this person selling her shoes and her jewelry, right? Well, some stalker from Scotland, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it was the name of the person and their syntax. This person, and they were calling me the same name that certain other people called me. They were talking about my eBay store and selling shoes or something. Yeah, a member of Team Lickspittle. And I'm like, please tell me you're not going to stalk somebody who bought an eBay store from me 6 months ago. Like, if that's where you are, you have no argument. Just go watch CNN, buy a globe, walk out of this scene. Anybody. I don't care enough about anybody to stalk them. Bowman, 1987. Awesome. Yeah, if you plan to create content, we will totally back that up. The more the better. This is a reformation, and every single video we post up contradicting one of their big lies is like another thesis nailed to the door of the cathedral or the church or whatever, like Martin Luther, because the Reformation was all about calling them out on their BS and then taking away their ability to translate reality. Anthony Carter says, flat earth is a mind control tool to get people riled up against government.
Hey, what's up?
Interesting.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on. And so I just brought onto the phone channel again.
Overthought. It's just Overthought.
Overthought. Okay.
Yeah.
Overthought.
I just have one.
Yeah, you've been posting a number of links. And okay, go ahead and.
I just have one video. It's about Neil deGrasse Tyson's promo, like science promo bullshit. That's my only kind of flat Earth video. The other stuff is I'm a vocalist and musician, and I've been starting to do some videos and stuff. So I just wanted to get some content on there.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it's always good to have musicians, especially those who are willing to, allow you to use it as a soundtrack for a video and link to it. I've been getting some music from Lucifer Tim to put on videos. And you could take a 3-hour hangout, and if you find a good 5-minute section, you put a soundtrack on it, upload it separate. I kind of want to find ways to combine our content to mutually support, other content creators. So that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Lucifer Tim's stuff's pretty good. Check that out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the unofficial bard of the Flat Earth Awakening.
Nice. I did want to say thank you for your channel and stuff, the time you put in. it seems like you're putting in like 12 hours a day.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's going to slow down now that I'm focusing on the art show, but yeah, sometimes it just doesn't stop. And it's accelerating. Like we got this 24/7 ODD channel, and it's addicting. These live hangouts are addicting. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I work on a computer, so um, I process orders and do a lot of mindless stuff. So I can listen probably 6 hours a day just at work, and then at home I get my viewing in if there's videos that I need to like NASA stuff where you need to watch it basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you know what? There's so much coming out, and that's why I did the website, the Flat Earth Report, because it's a news aggregator, which means every single day it's going to draw all the newest headlines in all the different categories. So if flat Earth is talked about, we need to be the first ones to know about it.
Yeah, for sure. You were talking about psyops earlier, and I was just thinking about earlier today. Um, Overthought you sound just like Monograph. Is that you? No.
Comments hilarious.
Yeah.
It's so great to, and the stuff that comes out of these chat rooms, the memes, like today, people are just tearing apart. They were like coming up with headlines to describe how Stephen Hawking died. One of them was like Stephen Hawking drowns in the pool at Wet
Yeah.
World or something.
Anyways, no, we were talking about that about psyops and false flags, and well, not even false flags, just full hoaxes. But today at work, that's all I'm hearing is I work with a bunch of women, um, which is cool. But there's a lot of gossip and stuff going around, and um, they're like every single one of them was talking about it, being like, "Oh my god, it sucks so bad." And every time there's some event like that, that's all I hear, and it just makes me cringe.
Yeah, they fall for it. They believe it. And it's all a movie.
Yeah, I know if I say anything that I'm probably risking my job.
Yeah, exactly. It's politically incorrect to question what the media is saying. And that's why I'm so irreverent about these psyops. And that's why somebody said I was insensitive for ripping on this or that. And it's like, you know what? If we let them treat their fake staged events, like sacred cows, they're going to walk all over us. So no, we have to call them out. And it's sad how people just fall for it.
Yeah. I remember seeing like right when the story broke of Fort Lauderdale. I was actually at work, and I only had like 15-minute breaks, whatever. In the break room, this breaking news comes out. I'm like, what is this? And it was weird because it seemed right off the bat, it seemed like uh, I don't know, it just seemed weird how he said breaking news from airport or something. I'm like, okay. And this was well into probably 6 months after I started looking into the flat Earth uh, stuff, and they go straight to the story, and I'm like, okay, what's this? What kind? Like, where's the video? I thought they'd have video right off the bat since they're inside of an airport,
Uh-huh.
and all they're showing is people running out. So yeah, it was just total bullshit. You see like guards with guns looking up into the sky outside, and then you hear about what actually happened, and it's like, why are they looking in the sky?
Yeah, when you've actually analyzed one of these things from start to finish, you start to see patterns. Like, why is it that all the people in the audience who look really concerned carry water bottles or lanyards? And then at that shooting at an airport a few months ago, there was a victim who was also shown later wearing an orange vest, like as working for the airport. Like they have dual roles.
Yeah. Then there was
But
this. There
somebody
was
here.
sorry. There was some bizarre like Santa Claus looking dude in like a red overalls. Did you see that Fort
No,
Lauderdale shooting?
I haven't looked into it yet, but go on.
Well, it was on Russian vids. He was in like four different shots in four different locations of the airport, and just standing in the background, he had this little dog with him, and it's like 4 different news broadcasts. There's this guy. It's like it just
Yeah,
doesn't make
well,
any sense.
the last San Bernardino shooting, they were going around talking to concerned parents, and the way they were acting, they all had the same talking points. So whenever there's a psyop, I just kind of like I try to discern what narrative are they trying to push forward with this one.
Yeah.
Because everyone has a couple of things. They'll try to introduce a new devil, boogeyman, bad guy, and then two, there's a political agenda being pushed. And right now, I'm seeing one of the main things they're using with school shootings and with the whole Islamic terrorist attack is they're trying to criminalize thoughts, reaching towards.
Yep. And that's what your most of my friends and family do is not all of them, most of them, because people think they're open minded, and then you're like, okay, you're open minded. How about this? And then they get pissed off, and it's like, well, you're not open minded. Uh, you're not really open minded. And I understand. I was the same way. I mean, honestly, when I first heard about it, it didn't piss me off. And I've always been into physics and astronomy. It didn't piss me off. It actually really intrigued me. And I'm like, why is there hundreds of people or whatever that think this? So I was really interested in it. And at the time, I was trying to look into conspiracies, but I was being led to like stuff they don't want you to know, which is extremely mainstream. Um, and looking for stuff, but didn't really have the right like stream online to get to the deeper stuff. Um,
Sure. I mean, for me, I think it's like stages. Like, it's one thing to grasp, but then psyops having to do with crisis actors is a whole nother level of crazy because you go from you believe 26 people died, you react as though people died, and it actually affects you on some level. And then again, nobody died. Like I remember there was a point like a year and a half ago where if you said nobody died, nobody got hurt, you'd be called out by the others as discrediting legitimate research. So thankfully we had people who would keep pushing that line and keep pushing it because it went a lot deeper since then. So
yeah,
we can't let people put the brakes on our investigation. We have to go where the facts lead us.
for sure. The thing that I want to make most apparent to people is that they don't know shit. I don't. I admit that I don't know shit, and the more I look into things, the more I don't know. The other night, I had a conversation with a buddy that before I started looking into this, I would consider one of my most open-minded friends, and I've been working on him for the past couple months. When I first brought up the flat Earth theory, um, he actually got pretty triggered, and I was kind of surprised. And it's weird because we talk about 1984, the book, and uh, different different things like 1984 with our government, and just being like, yeah, dude, it's pretty much 1984. Like that's what we're living in. And so
Yep.
he was on the same page as me, but then you get to flat Earth, and he's like, no way. And he gets triggered and pissed off, and then he's like, dude, you're going against thousands of scientists. What are you talking about? And I'm like, who do they get paid by? Like, what are
Yep.
you talking
That's the
about?
thing. That's key right there is you can understand that journalists push fake agenda-driven news. It's the same with scientists. And Adam B just said, I find more people get triggered by the dino hoax. Yeah, I came to the dino hoax after that. I didn't even think about it. It was like an afterthought. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people have a problem losing their dinosaurs.
Yep.
It's funny, the things that you're sold when you're a little kid, the globe, the dinosaurs, why should those be the most triggering? And I think it's because when they program you, and they do it on purpose at that age, it's basically the teacher has you in a classroom full of kids and they say, if you don't agree with this, you're really dumb and everybody's going to laugh at you. And you don't want to be laughed at as a little kid. And that's why later as an adult, when you bring it up to someone, their response is to smirk and laugh very uncomfortably. Because I think it's triggering their initial programming that is, oh, I don't want to be laughed at by everybody. I don't want to be outgrouped.
Yeah. I just listened to I just got into Crow 777. Finally, I'd heard of him a while back, but for some reason I was turned off or some. I don't know why. Um, I think there was people like saying shit about him, so I didn't really look into it. But he sounds like one of the most in depth researchers I've heard.
Yeah,
Um,
he's actually really good. And one of the things I like about him is that he covers one, the dinosaur hoax. Two, he goes
yeah,
really deep into JPL. I would recommend buying his. It's $5 a month if you get a full subscription. That's it. So he's got an hour on YouTube, but he goes really deep on his
yeah,
page.
I've
But
been
he
thinking
also
about
covers
doing.
the Jesuits. Like, have you looked into the Jesuit thing?
Yep. I've that's one thing you talk about Eric Dubay, and that's how I got into this pretty much. My dad got me into it. He's a biblical literalist, but uh, he's not. He wouldn't even consider himself a Christian at this point, but he does. It's weird. He does believe that Jesus is God. Um, so I guess that does make him a Christian. I don't know. That's a really weird thing going on with me is because uh, everything I've seen. I mean, I haven't read the Bible. I haven't looked deep research into if Jesus actually existed or who he was. And my dad claims he has. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at there. I just all I can do is claim to not know.
Right. Well, my attitude with religion thing is I make it clear that I see the institution, the organized religion, is different from spirituality, and that we are spiritual beings. And what they do is they take your spirituality and they direct it towards their idols, kind of like they take your intellect and they plug it into their indoctrination. And so I just tell people you don't have to give up anything. If that's how your spirituality is revealed itself to you, then stay with it.
Yeah, no, I totally. I've been listening to you and Jaron and a lot of people, and Jaron really resonates with me because I know he's just trying to find truth. And how are we supposed to be put in this position as humans and not have not have the information that we need to really trust that someone is a god? You
Well,
know?
did you hear the Truth Frequency Radio interview I had with Jaronism? It's
Yeah.
on my channel, the first hour. One of the things he talks about is he went to a Jesuit school and he was talking about there was one mass where something was said in Latin and he asked them, what does that mean? And he was told, well, you wouldn't know that. You don't get told until your third year in seminary school or something. So what people don't know is that every religion, like the Masons, every religion has an insider esoteric side that you're not privy to.
Yeah.
So it's a secret society that filters people according to their levels of knowledge. And since it's a secret society, you can tell that every single person sitting in the pews is in the dark. So
Hmm.
do you really want to go to an organization that lies to old women, people on a daily basis and takes their money, makes them feel guilty, and then bills them for taking away the guilt? It's such a scam.
Yep, I totally agree. And point I wanted to make about that, I was saying my dad is a Christian, but he wouldn't really consider himself in the religion because he doesn't agree with any churches anymore. So he's not really in the institutions, but he reads the Bible. So it's weird because I've talked to him about this a lot too, and we've had some tougher conversations because he doesn't want to hear me saying like, no, I don't believe that, whatever. But I tell him, I'm like, dude, I don't know that. I've never had any insights of Jesus. And I mean, I believe that there's a creator now. I was an atheist, so um, I believe that at least there's a creator, but how in the hell am I supposed to know who it is or what it
Right.
is?
Yeah, and that's my problem is that they make claims to know things, which that's fine if they can know it for themselves, but to expect other people to take their word for it, whether it's a priest or someone with a lot of conviction. Like I've argued with a lot of these YouTube Christian flat earthers, and they say, well, I spent time in jail and I had a hard time and Jesus saved me. And my point is, well, maybe you had that experience, but if you were born in Turkey or something, Muhammad probably would have saved you. Like, it's very subjective. And to say that your experience is somehow more valid than everybody else's is a little, it's a big claim to make.
Yeah, I ask the question, what if I was born in Africa? I never even heard about Jesus and never even heard about um, the Trinity. Am I going to hell? What if I was 2 years old? I mean, doesn't the Bible say that 2-year olds that don't know better go to hell because of
Yeah.
original sin?
Yeah.
So,
And that's the
I
thing,
mean,
they pick and
that's a
choose.
valid question to me.
Yeah. That's the problem with biblical literalism is that like there is no the Bible. Like when they say, oh, the Bible is the word of God, it's like, which one? It's not only has it been rewritten, recycled, regurgitated, and it's plagiarized, but on top of it, every single person has a subjective interpretation. It's like it's not standardized, it's not formal enough, it's not cohesive. And I don't really care for any arguments from the Bible any more than I care from arguments from the globe. And do they really have a purpose here in this discussion anyway? We're talking about the earth being flat.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I don't know if
Now, have you looked into Joseph Atwill? He wrote Caesar's Messiah.
uh-uh.
Okay, he was a Jesuit trained writer. He's a world class chess player, a brilliant man. And what he did was he took the historical account of the destruction or the leveling of Jerusalem, and he showed how the Gospels were actually nothing more than a veiled reference to Titus Flavius, a Roman emperor who leveled Jerusalem. And one of the things he exposes is that the religious narratives that we're told are all holy in these holy stories, they're really nothing more elite used to write themselves into the myths as gods. So the whole divine right of kings is based on lies anyway, and it's rooted in sun worship. Christianity, the official state religion of Rome, was sun worship. And so Christianity, and this is what people don't get, and they get mad when I say this, but Christianity was never monotheistic. It has always been theism with the Jewish paint job. But try to tell that to a believer, you're not going to get anywhere, right?
Yeah. And for me, those connections make so much sense that I mean, honestly, I'm not a researcher like you. I don't read that much. I work 40 hours a week. It's hard, and I try to do what I can, practicing music and getting better at that. So it's extremely hard to find time. And now it's summer and got shit going on, fun stuff going on every weekend almost, it seems like. So it's just really hard to find time to be able to sit down and read and do in-depth research. That's why I appreciate you and like Crow 777, Jaren, Globe Busters, all these
Yeah,
channels, because uh, what you can do is listen to you guys, and then if something sounds stupid, you look it up for yourself.
yeah,
If
I
something
know
sounds
what you mean.
good,
And
you look it up for
I,
yourself. But I'm not going to claim that I've done in-depth research and I'm some guru that knows shit. You know?
no, but that's what's so great about this is that things are moving so fast. We don't all have time to do all the deep research. So we have people who invest time and energy into it. And that's why I'm making it a point to try to help support other content creators because it is really worth it when we think about it. Like when I listened to one Crow 777 podcast on his radio show about JPL and the founding of
Yes.
the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And you know what? If that information that he discussed myself, it would have taken a week or two. So it's nice to have people who can just go into these places and dig it out for us.
Yeah, that's my favorite one too, because that is so interesting. And anyone who believes in NASA, you need to you need to either research it or listen to what he has to say and then check it for yourself, because the shit basically proves that NASA is formed by fantasy writers.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's literally that.
Yeah, it's and then and he that ties in with uh the dinosaur thing too. It's all theoretical first, just like the globe. That would be a. I don't get how these globe pushers that 100% know we're on a globe, how if they honestly look back in time to when it first came up, it's a thought experiment. That makes way more sense to me than being like, "Oh, the boat went way off in the distance and we can't see it anymore, so therefore we're on a ball." It makes way
Yeah.
more sense that someone would make up a globe and be like, "Oh, that's cool."
Well,
Like
it's
maybe that's
like
what
as
we
you said,
live
it's a
on.
thought experiment. And when I was before Flat Earth, I was looking into like Al Gore as a cult leader because I realized global warming was a doomsday cult long before Flat Earth, long before I connected it to this long tradition of this system of control where they use doomsday scenarios to corral the sheep. But even back then, I was looking into this thing and I was learning that the information they would get proving global warming came out of computer models. And they put the data in to give them the results they wanted. So I'm like, that's just an oracle. That's
Yeah.
not science.
Yeah, have you seen, the channel called Archer Sage?
He's often commenting here. I'm gonna have to check his page out.
Yes, it's the best NASA, I don't know, ranks right up there with Jaren, but he does short, to the point, highly informative, videos just about certain little things about NASA. One that he did recently is called, NASA Photographer We Can't Manipulate Images, and he's talking about, um, the guys who are doing images for jets. So these are real photos, and they do Photoshop on them, but it's just to enhance, just to make them spice them up a little bit, make them look better. They're not adding anything in. And so this guy's quote is, "We can't manipulate images because we're in the military." And he actually said NASA too in the same sentence, I'm pretty sure. And then and then you see this dumbass saying, "Well, it has to be. It has to be." you know. So it's just full contradiction.
Well, so much of our reality has been given to us through TV screens and through the media. And what I've noticed is that, like, I think the reason why people think that what they see on TV and the news is so believable is because they've been prepped to believe in it from the movies. So like anything you see in the movie, I'm just looking at it as they're softening you up for something in the media, a real life psyop. And so what they have done effectively is they have merged, like you said, these organizations come out of sci-fi. Well, they have merged science fiction and fictional scripts with reality. And it's compounded and it's made even more of a deception when you have live actors and crisis actors playing roles of real people. It's like they're turning this into the Truman Show.
Yeah, it's nuts. You can see it, and especially like you were saying with the movies. Have you heard of the movie called Life? It's just called Life. It's new.
Oh yeah, I saw the preview for it, and that's the one where it's basically like Alien all over
It's a
again.
Yeah, it's a horror movie, but it's a space horror movie, and they're in the
Yeah,
ISS.
yeah, I was thinking about protesting it, to be quite honest. I was like, man, I had to go out there. In fact, I think that night was my first live stream was when that came out, and we were using that hashtag to try to say, it's all flat, you're wasting your money, don't buy a ticket.
Okay.
My first live stream was that night that came out because I was going to go protest it with a sign saying that space is fake. Then I thought, well, I could protest one theater, or I could go on YouTube and and reach more people.
Yeah.
But eventually, yeah, people need to calm on this stuff because that's not even feasible. It's just all fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good movie. Sorry to say, but it's a good movie. It's just fantasy, but it's so realistic. That's how daunting this movie shit is. Is that the
Well,
stuff's so realistic that people, I mean, air quotes realistic, realistic for other people, but it's just daunting because other people are watching it and being like, "Damn, that looks just like that," or the astronauts in outer space on the ISS.
Well, what you're describing sounds exactly like how the church has always had the best artists. They would only patronize the best, and they would control the arts. And so the mind control operation owned by the powers that be will always have the best stuff, the best artwork,
Hmm.
because it's all used to brainwash people. And so you go into a cathedral, you see the stained glass, you see the stations of the cross, the statues, the iconography, and it puts you in a state of awe. With the high ceiling, you're looking up, it's like this is God's house. Well,
Yeah,
movie theaters put you in the same state, and it's not a coincidence.
that's true. Like you were saying, the what's it called? IMAX.
Yeah, IMAX, very immersive, just like
Yeah.
a planetarium. It's all about immersing. And now with Oculus and virtual reality, it's going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And this is why I say that the answer to this is culture. We need people producing ideas and content that can steer us away from this dependency on the stupid space balls. One of my favorite sci-fi writers, William Gibson, all dystopian, all futuristic, but he doesn't really bring the space balls into it. And I'd prefer they didn't, because I'm saying that's just old. I'm so sick of it. But if you were a video game maker and you want to get a big budget and get a lot of money behind you, pitch a Spaceball movie. You just serve
Oh
the
yeah.
powers that be. That's that's all you got to do. Someone's asking. My first hangout, I think I had 100 viewers, maybe 100. Wasn't even that. But now, how long have you been on YouTube, by the way?
Uh. Oh, another thing I was going to say about my channel is I originally made my channel just to compile playlists because I'm like, well, I can just show this playlist to my friends and family. They can just watch the videos. They'll fucking get it just like me. But that's not how it goes. But it's been, let me think. I've been looking into it for probably over 9 months, and I've had the channel probably for 7 months.
And
But
did you just go through the same exact, like as everybody else? You discovered what Flat Earth Clues or Math Powerland or something, or Eric Dubay? Who was the first Flat Earth video that really caught your attention?
okay, so I was, I felt like it was probably 6 months before I really started looking into it. For some reason, I just wanted, uh, like I said, I have this job where I can listen for hours. So I was listening to music every day, blah blah blah, and then I moved to books, and then I was like, oh shit, there's podcasts. So I started listening to podcasts, and then basically I'm just like hungry for information uh, for some reason at that point in my life. And so I'm looking into a bunch of different stuff, but not really getting that deep, like I said. Um, and then one day my dad started sending us emails, like me and my two brothers and other family members, his siblings too. And everyone's like, "What the hell is he talking? What is he talking about?" Because
Okay,
he
so
was,
that's what started it, though. It was
yeah,
you having the free time to listen to things for hours on end.
yeah, basically.
Because
Um,
um,
because
that can
my two other brothers don't have that time, and basically, I got Eric Dubay's 6 hour lecture, and I listened to it 3 times back to back to back, and so
okay.
there it was.
Yeah, that's a common pattern. And in 1984, Winston Smith gets a secret apartment with no monitors, which is a crime.
Yeah,
And you're not supposed to be alone in this book. They call it own self. And he goes to this place and he starts keeping a journal, which is a subversive thing, can get him killed. That's why he ended
yeah,
up getting tortured. But the idea was that as long as Big Brother had you constantly under his spell, under his eye, 24/7, surrounded by other people, as long as you didn't have solitude, you would never notice the delusion. And I'm finding that a lot of the people who wake up to this are people who, for some reason or another, have the time to actually listen to things outside of the mainstream.
yep. And another thing you mentioned 1984. That was a book that I listened to like 2 or 3 times before I started getting into deep conspiracy theory stuff. So that really opened my mind. I've always had. I mean, I thought I had an open mind or whatever. I mean, flat Earth was brought up to me, and Yeah, I laughed and thought like, why do people think that? But it didn't piss me off like a lot of people get, which I don't. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get how people get mad. It's like you live on Earth. You don't live in space. So
Yeah, that's the thing we're dealing with right now, and it's kind of an interesting observation from a anthropological point of view, is just or sociological point of view. It's like, how do people respond to paradigm shocks? And so on Saturday nights, I'm doing this like an 8 hour long video. It's going to be called Flat Earth and Other Paradigm Shocks, where I discuss the things that are very shocking, not really like crazy shocking, but just things that they're not politically correct, even on the fringe. Like if I try to make the case that Rush Limbaugh is Jim Morrison, I'm going to lose half the people in this room. But there are some people who want to hear about this and they want to know how it works and why it makes work. And so what I do is I don't say, let's debunk it. I say, let's examine it. And in what universe would it make sense? And I ask, and from this point of view, it's like, what would be the point of this? And then I start looking at patterns and it unravels into something else. And so I'm going to be talking about that kind of stuff on Saturday. Pretty out there.
yeah, and yeah, a lot of people think that it detracts or whatever. But I don't know if you're open minded enough. What's wrong with just like you were saying? What's wrong about just thinking about something, postulating
Yep.
ideas? That's
You heard of the Overton window?
no, I don't think so.
This idea, it's called the window of discourse. And basically, it's this idea that we all have like certain parameters of things that are safe to talk about. Anything beyond it's too much. So the idea is that if you want to expand the conversation to talk about things that are slightly crazier, bring up something extremely crazy. The window of discourse is open wide, and then they will try to close it down. But the bigger the opening you create, uh, the more likely you can at least squeeze more stuff through that they wouldn't have allowed through. So, for
Yeah.
example,
Okay.
I did a test with this thing a couple of weeks ago, the Overton window concept, where I was making the case that is Bill Hicks. People got mad. So then I said, let's try the Overton window. So I said, Alex Jones is not only Bill Hicks, but he's a chick. And people got really mad about it. And I was just trying to not laugh it off as a joke, because it kind of was in a sense. But by the end of the
And then
night,
they're like, okay, he is Bill
they're like,
Hicks,
okay, fine. Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, I'll accept him. He's Bill Hicks. Just
but he's
let's
not
not
a
go.
girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Flat Earth and Other Paradigm Shocks is like a thought experiment where we brainstorm, we go out of bounds to open the Overton window and see what ideas we might have overlooked.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because it made me think directly to the past, I don't know, few months. I've been going over to my brother's. He just got married and stuff, but he has a bunch of he's in his younger 20s, so he's still. Um, I'm in my upper 20s. He's in his younger 20s, but I still hang out with them a lot, and him and his friends, and um, there there's a few of them that are in college still, so they're like totally in the mainstream shit. And it's funny. We're just talking and they'll say a celeb we're like talking and drinking or whatever. They'll say a celebrity and I'll be like, yeah, they're a tranny. And they
Oh
would get
yeah,
all pissed off.
that's funny though, because it's like um, at first you bring it up and it's crazy, but then when people actually look into it, it's like, well, it's like not even really debatable. It's just a question of now how does this make sense in what context, and that's where I've been at with it.
Yeah, they're
Like, 'cause
getting to the point. I've said it a few different times here in the past couple weeks, and they're getting to the point where they're like, he's just saying that to piss us off, and it's maybe it's getting kind of normalized in their subconscious. I don't know.
the thing, and Mark Sargent actually talked about this. He said, even if they totally balk at the notion of flat Earth, if you bring the idea up and they can't immediately banish it, he says it's just going to rattle around in their heads and it's eventually going to surface again. And so once you look into some of these strange concepts, or whether it's a psyop or people, whatever it is, once you've looked into it, even if you disregarded it, when you're objective, you're not gonna miss it. It's like your Overton window has been opened a little wider to make that even possible to perceive it. You're not filtering it out. And I call the Overton window concept a reality filter. And I say that every religion puts a reality filter over your mind, every ideology, every belief system, whether it's heliocentrism or one of the Abrahamic faiths. And I think that we escape the big deceptions when we get rid of these filters and rely on our own perceptions. But
definitely. Yeah, pretty
and part
much.
of what we're doing is we're exposing this, right? Like when you talk about the stuff, you joke about it, people laugh, but what are you really doing? All you're doing is you're saying what you think is
Yeah,
true. And
you're putting the idea in their head. I think
yeah.
okay about that. I wanted to ask you. I think that it does happen, but here in not really you, but what's that? John Humanity.
Hmm. Yeah, I know
I
that.
subscribed to him after you had him on there, and he had like Jack Nicholson on there.
Oh, yes.
And
No, I saw that. I saw that horrible picture. I know which one you're talking about.
oh god, no, but basically my question is, so you've been talking about how these celebrities are born into it from cradle to grave. Um, do you think they're all, or I mean, is there like a spectrum of fame that, like, if you're not born into it, then you can't get super famous, or
Oh, I see what you mean. I think it works like this. I think that there's a certain class that are born into it, cradle to grave, controlled on another caste, like a level above us. But then there are the sellouts who are allowed into it by virtue of their membership in secret societies, signing certain
okay,
NDAs. So I think you can sell out humanity if you want to, and you can join the parasites. But I think they are separate from us. I'm starting to get the impression that, um, for whatever reason, that it's like a parallel species. It's bizarre. I don't attribute any special abilities to them, but
so
it's like
you,
organized crime families, you know?
yeah, so you do think that it's not just because that's what was kind of tripping me up. I'm like, they're how could they all be from
Yeah.
born into it? But yeah, I agree that some of them could be into secret societies. Do you think there's any like super famous celebs that aren't in a society, aren't with the elites?
I think that if you're not, it's only because you've well, that's a good one because it's really a question of they wouldn't want it to be. They would marginalize it. But then again, merit kind of stands out on its own. And so you will find outsiders who aren't accepted. Um, I'd have to think about that, but it's a good question. I really don't think that it's everyone, but it does seem to be the case that if you want to go up to a certain level, that there are certain deals that you have to make, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
And I call it a mutual blackmail society at the highest level. And this is like you hear about these pedophilia scandals in the church, but they happen in academia, they happen in politics, they happen all over the place. And it's always the same pattern. And there's some documentaries on the subject that are pretty dark, like the Franklin cover up, very twisted stuff. But what we're looking at here is just
Yeah, it's fucking
one of two
sick.
things. When I look at like controlled opposition, I just assume one of two things. One, they're guided by self-preservation because there's a blackmail folder on them, or two, they're being driven by greed. Either way.
Yeah. Have you seen the Pizzagate documentary by Marty Leeds?
Which one is that?
It's I think it's his only one. If it's not his only one, it's his main. It's like over an hour long, about all his research that he did on Pizzagate, and he was doing some
Oh,
pretty in
yes.
depth research.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, felt pretty sick after that, even though it was put together really well and it was a good documentary. It's hard. I didn't watch it again, but
People try to
it's
act like
pretty
it's, see, this
crazy.
is the thing about some of these like conspiracies that get really big and popular is that it's not an exact thing. You're covering all the bases and you don't always arrive at all the right conclusions right away. So what people do is they'll say, "Oh, this has been discredited because this doesn't match." And then they just
Yeah.
ignore it. This happened with Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist gets like 70% of it right. And so the people who are opposed to the idea will focus on the 30% and think it invalidates everything else when it doesn't. It just doesn't. Let's see. Okay, I got a couple of questions here. Let's see. Kyle McDonald, I went to elementary school. I'm almost certain his family had nothing to do with any secret societies. He might have signed deals later. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's universal. I mean, definitely wouldn't, but there is this thing, and it's not just entertainment. It's definitely spread about. I mean, in politics, it's more evident in other places. I was looking at some of the royalty. You know, I don't even want to name their names right now. I'll bring that up on Saturday, but some of it's just like, what the hell is going on? And then another thing, though, it's just like I said, it's the Overton window. If you can consider something like this, then you know you're capable of being objective and impartial enough, even if it's just a look in to discredit the thing. Because I have a real problem with people like Brian, I think his name's Brian Cox or something. He's like one of these priests
Yeah.
of scientism who's like, he won't even engage, he won't even look into it. He won't even look at flat Earth. He says, second looking at it. It's like,
Did you see Jaren's last video?
okay. Yeah, he mentioned that.
Yeah. Did you see that clip where Brian Cox just kind of lost his mind on his producer, and his producer's like, "Dude, I'm not even." He's like, "I don't believe the Earth's flat." He's like, "I'm just asking a question." And yeah, Brian Cox was so flustered, and it was just he was like a little troll. Basically, it was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, he couldn't even argue. He couldn't even make
Yeah,
any
he
points.
couldn't
He
even
was
say
like
anything.
flustered. He was totally flustered.
It's
And
ridiculous. It blows my mind. These guys. There's so many better um, globy pushers on YouTube that know way more about the globe model, about the physics of it, than Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, Brian Cox, all these famous fuckers that
Steve-O.
yeah, yeah, Steve-O knows more.
Yeah, notice that. Why do
Unbelievable.
they bring on actors? They're not bringing in scientists. And I think it's these people. Here's what to remember about these actors is that, yeah, they're actors on the screen, but no, they're actors everywhere. Everything they say, I just consider it. They're under a contract. Someone owns them. They're slaves. They're controlled. And maybe it's just that they can control a Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye, hold a certain narrative, because the scientists might actually focus on the facts, and they don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
They don't want to debate the facts. They want to reinforce the narrative.
Yeah, they're gonna get to a point that's like makes them scratch their head, and then they're like, "Oh shit, what?"
Exactly. That's exactly it. Because what we're seeing here, it's the same with the media. We have a narrative driven media, which basically is agenda driven rather than fact oriented. So it's not real journalism. And with science, it's all about the narrative, which just means it fits this script or it doesn't get included. But
I was watching
um,
Joe Rogan earlier, and he had the I think it was a musician from the band Everlast, um, and they were talking about the mainstream media, and he's like, "How do I even know what to believe anymore?" And Joe Rogan's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I thought maybe he would mention flat Earth, but he didn't, because they were getting into like fake news, basically, like throwing that term around. And uh, dude was like, he's like, "I don't give a fuck about left wing, right wing. I don't trust any of them. I don't trust the news because they're feeding bullshit." Um, and and so Joe Rogan's saying all this, and it's just like my friend who I thought was open minded. It's like, so then you stop at the flat Earth, even though that's all you experience. Like there's all this deception. Everything is riddled with deception. So how is it so hard to see that even the Earth beneath you could be a deception? I mean, connect the pieces.
right, exactly. Well, I've been thinking about this different ways of getting this information in front of people who have a vested interest in understanding it. And a lot of it's just about packaging. information. It's about packaging and presentation. And
Yeah.
I think that there are certain elements we can appeal to in people, certain sentiments, like people who think that the court system is unjust or the military industrial system is unjust. If you can show them that, hey, everything that you find screwed up about the system can be explained when you see it's part of a bigger system of control. Because everybody's got their own little puzzle piece here and there. But to get the whole picture, I think you really do need to see how this is an integrated system of human farming. Because that's what they're farming us, is how I look at it.
Yeah, and a big thing when I first started looking into it, one of my like oh shit moments was I'm like I'm getting down to the bottom. I'm getting to the bottom of this. I'm going all the way back to the Greeks. So I started looking into it, and it's like, okay, Eratosthenes, and then it's like, okay, so how did he know that the sun was far away? So I started looking into
Right.
that, and they didn't have they,
And
they didn't have any information on Google of that at the time. Um, and I'm like, oh shit, he didn't really know because they're saying Hipparchus. He found some method that told him that it was an infinite distance. It's like, okay, he didn't have a lens. He didn't even have a lens. How in the
no, he
hell do you
started
just
off
look
with
at
the
the sun?
presumption too.
Yeah, how
Aristophanes
do you
started
look
off
at
with the
this?
globe, right?
Yeah, but what my research led just kind of skimming over like Google basically was that Hipparchus um, found out somehow that the distance of the sun was infinite or whatever, or 3 million miles or something. And I'm like, okay, I want to find the methods. What did these guys do? Don't just tell me that he found the shit out with complicated mathematics, blah blah blah. He can't just look at the fucking thing in the sky and then say how far it is without. I mean, even if you do have tools, how can you use a telescope, look at the moon, and then say how far it is? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Well, this is all described in detail in Kings Dethroned, and it shows you
Yeah,
the
yeah.
power of how one idea
I did hear that.
forms the
Yeah.
basis for all of this. Here we go. What World D comments. It goes back to Hipparchus. He failed to get a baseline triangulation, which led him to the assumption that the stars must be an infinite distance away.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Error. The foundational error, which
Now,
I think might be intentional.
yeah, it's weird. When I first looked it up, I didn't come across Aristarchus, but now when you look it up, they send you to Aristarchus and how he found out how far the moon was. So that's the key. Now, how did they find it? How did Aristarchus find out how far the moon was? They give you this. It's like based on the different angles of the moon when the moon's straight up at a 90-degree angle to the sun when the sun's on the horizon or some shit like that. But that's still so convoluted. It's
Well, here's
ridiculous.
what I'm thinking though, is that they give an exoteric interpretation. They say this is what the study showed us. This is the shape of the world. But in the lodges, in the secret societies, they know what the information really tells them. So we're given all this garbage like CGI, ball Earth stuff. We're given all this propaganda to tell us what the outer space looks like. But the people providing us the lies, they know the truth inside their secret society meetings. They
Yeah.
have it.
Paul is dead,
So
and
people are like,
Paul is
where's
dead.
your
Oh,
perfect
sorry.
map? They have it.
Paul is dead, and other hot potatoes says the way they measured the speed of light was BS. That's true, and uh, I can add to that. Um, they find out that the speed of light changes. So, and that's not in mainstream science though.
Right. ODD Reality just stopped in. I just gave him a wrench. Please, if you don't mind, ODD, post a link to your chat room, because we're going to be migrating over there momentarily. Anybody else want to call in really quick tonight before I there? So yeah,
I,
what I'm going to be doing is this is going to be a Thursday thing. Hour 1 and 2, uh, whatever's topical. But hour 3, I'm going to take calls from content creators. and people who have questions, people who disagree with me, people who think I'm a shill. Hey, call me. Let's talk about my shilliness.
Nice.
It's all good.
Well,
It's IPS and shill.
I'm gonna get off here, but first I just wanted to throw out a few things. ODD Reality, he had one of the first videos I seen that was really like, whoa, like blew my mind, and that was the 21 questions.
Yep.
And then also, this is for people that are on the fence, or I mean, I'm still not. I admit I'm still not 100%, but I'm definitely over 90. You know. um, but there was another one called Mountain of Evidence that people need to see. That's just showing different mountain peaks. There's other videos like it now. And then another one was Jeranism. Uh, no southern. What's it? What is it? No 24-hour sun in the south.
Yes,
Those
I know what you're talking about. Everyone knows that one.
Yeah, those three were big for me. So just wanted to
Awesome. Yeah, the
shout-outs.
21. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's kind of the shorter one where he's just the girls asking the questions, and yeah.
Very good. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And like I
Yeah,
said, I'll
thanks
be
for having
opening
me,
this
man.
thing up to callers third hour. So anybody wants to get on the line tomorrow, send me an email tonight or whatever, and we'll schedule it because I'll be on tomorrow, same time. Here's the link to ODD's channel. I'm going to be 256 of us watching. Let's see if at least half of us can make it over there. The
Awesome.
hashtag, as you know.
I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks to everyone in the chat, and thanks for having me on.
Roger. All right, you have a good night.
Yeah, you
And
too,
hey,
man.
everybody else listening, thanks for dropping by. This is just episode 1 of the Flat Earth Report. If you haven't seen the flatearthreport.com, the news aggregator, the Flat Earth Drudge Report, conceptualizing this thing, there's a link. And I'm heading over to another chat room now. I'm trying to discipline myself to keep these things 3 hours. I will do a longer one Saturday nights, but these ones will be a little more restrained. So anyway, thanks for dropping by, and you all, hopefully I'll see you over there.